Okay, it is 6 o'clock, April 9th, for I'll call our regular board meeting to order. Charlie, if you do roll call. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, Chairperson Beecham.
Here.
Vice Chair Fonger.
Here.
Board Member Schraubin. Here. Board Member Cadwalder.
Here.
Board Member Crawford. Here. Everybody's here.
Approval of the agenda. We're going, in action items, we're gonna write a D in there. We're gonna talk briefly, we're not gonna do an evaluation, but we're gonna briefly talk about what the rest of the board, how they'd like to see the evaluation for the general manager, and we're gonna set a date. I've got looking at a couple dates in April to specifically for that, to do his evaluation. It has been, if you remember, we did the evaluation late, 2 years or year and a half ago, and we decided to make that for 2 years, and that's coming up, and I want to make sure that we take care of that before the end of our fiscal year.
And I'd like to also add an insurance discussion.
Okay.
It'll be under action items, but no action will be taken tonight. It will be information for a future action item.
And let's call that A1.
Yeah.
So put Charlie on at the beginning, he doesn't have to sit through.
Yeah, that's what I thought. We'll put Charlie right up front and, yeah. But yes, if we could add the insurance discussion as a first action item and then the review as the last action item. Again, both are for future board actions, but we'll put them in the action items, action item section.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve with those changes.
Supported. It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Approval of the minutes. Before we get into the minutes, I have a few questions. Again, I wasn't here, but I think there should probably be a couple corrections. When it gets down to, so again, it's showing that I was absent. It's showing that Andrew arrived at 6:13. So the first vote was 3-2. The approval agenda was 3-2. But when we get down to approval of the minutes, it says Andrew moved to, and it was supported by Fonger, and the vote again was 3-2. That's showing 2 absent, and I would, if he's making the motion, I'm assuming that this is past the 6:13. So again, that was the one. I mean, it's not a big deal, but
No, it needs to be correct.
that's the one little thing. So it really should have been. Again,
How did I support that? I was chairing.
well, you can still support it.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I'd have to look back through my notes.
So, an example, with the city, Mike DeBoer makes a lot of motions and everything. It's just,
Yeah.
I just like doing it differently.
Yeah.
So that's
Fine.
So it really should say yay 4, absent 1. And then I think that's,
The 3 absent 2
Unless I
until Andrew got in.
Yeah, it might have been just.
Or, excuse me.
It might have been a copy paste thing.
Yeah.
I would say, I think it was who made the motion and supported might not have.
because again, well,
Well, we can just play it back.
Yeah, we'll.
Want to just cue it up and we can play it back?
because again, depending on where the time frame is, the next one where it says it was voted on, this was the truck, my deal,
That's
again,
right.
was it,
That's right. I think Andrew
Was it
said it right after
3-2?
we did that.
I would say I do too. I think the name is wrong.
okay, so whether it's 3-2, there's something that needs to be changed.
We will correct item 3 on the minutes.
I'm glad you caught that, Joe.
So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve, unless somebody else sees more.
Motion to approve with appropriate corrections.
I'll support it.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we're on to safety moment.
All right, I'm going to hand this over to Julie this month, and she's going to take our safety moment.
Yeah, I'm doing, don't be driven to distractions. So, driver distraction is a factor in about 4 million motor vehicle crashes in North America each year. So, what are the chances? And then it lists all the different things. You could be texting, that causes 23 times. You're more likely to crash. You could be talking on your phone. You could be reading. You could be putting on your lipstick, playing with your dog, dialing a handheld device. I guess just pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure you have plenty of time to get from A to B. Don't be in a hurry. Just don't be distracted. Pre-program your GPS, allow calls to go to voicemail, use hand-free devices. And then over on the right is just about the employers, what you can do. Establish a policy that prevents workers from using your cell phone while operating a motor vehicle. And install hands-free devices. Educate workers about the risks of distracted driving. So those are just a couple, I didn't read every single one, but yeah, make sure you're paying attention on the road. Don't want you to get in an accident and don't want you to hit anyone else. So, pretty simple.
But it's not state law, correct?
Yes.
Hands-free?
It is.
Absolutely correct, so.
Yes.
Everybody knows not to do it, but a lot of people still do it. So
It's true.
it's a good reminder. It's a lot of our safety reminders are just reminders.
Yes.
No new information, but it's a great reminder. So thank you, Julie.
Yeah.
They should mention fast food eaters too. I've seen a lot of those down there looking for their french fries. So I'm building.
Long trips,
Sorry, I've been one of them in the past, but I don't do it anymore.
long trips, I try to get a little catnap with one eye, and then switch to the other eye, and,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Public comment, any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to action items. A1, which is our guest.
Yes, all right, so I'm gonna start, again, we just, in the board packet under my, I believe it's in my manager's report, I mentioned that we were meeting with, I guess I'll start, Charlie Schloser, I always pronounce your name wrong. Slosher. Oh, I don't think I've ever heard you say it, and I don't think, after I hear it, I don't think I've ever heard anybody else say it correctly.
You're not the first.
All right, but Charlie is with VHS, who acts as our insurance consultant, broker, falls in a lot of roles, but obviously he really focuses on our health insurance, our dental insurance, our vision insurance, and then our long-term disability, short-term disability, and our life insurance that we provide. I'll start with the easy stuff this year. Our long-term disability, short-term disability, and life insurance, no rate change, so that'll just be a carry forward. Dental and vision we're going to, both increases were, one of them was around, dental was 3.4% and vision was under 2%. I'll present full details, but want to just give a little flavor today. Those, I couldn't anticipate recommending a change at this point with those. It's a good package that works together, and by offering Delta Dental, we're able to pair that and offer a voluntary Delta Vision plan. If we move our dental, we have to consider what we do with our voluntary vision plan, because we will not meet the minimum requirements to offer voluntary vision without it being paired. The only reason we were able to offer it is because it's paired with our Delta Dental, and it's a paired product that Delta makes available because we use their Delta or their dental insurance. So those are those are the more simple ones. As I mentioned it last year, mentioned it last month, and I probably mentioned it a few times in between then and last year when we went through renewal. Priority Health is terminating our Healthy by Choice plan at the end of our plan year. Our plan year follows our fiscal year, so our insurance renewal will be July 1, or I guess the plan year is July 1 through June 30th. If we back into why are we meeting today, or why are we bringing this, why did we meet with Charlie today and have a conversation with the board almost immediately after, it's a timeline thing. We normally bring insurance in May once staff sat down with Charlie and VHS and gone through our options, and we vet everything, but for the most part, we have not seen significant plan changes. We've not seen any substantial changes in a long time. We've been on this plan, and it's just been tweaks that Priority Health's made annually. Obviously, this year, it's going to be a more substantial change. So again, the plan year is July 1 through June 30th. We back into that. We have to have time to do open enrollment. We know we're going to be making changes, so VHS has to have time to issue new ID cards and everything. So as we back in, that needs to happen by June 10th. Safe to be June 10th. So that puts it, we can't take action at our June board meeting. So backing into that, we need to take action no later than our April or our May board meeting, or there's going to need to be a special call board meeting between the May meeting and enough time to have open enrollment and get everybody lined up with the new plan, because we don't have an option to stay on the healthy choice plan. Again, kind of abnormal to bring it now, but VHS got our renewals April 1st. Takes them some time to obviously process them, review them, pull together some packages for us to review. So we set up the meeting as soon as we could, with spring breaks and everything. Some of the kind of approach that we wanted to take today is I wanted to share some initial evaluations that we have, and then want to talk a little bit. About just strategy. Oops, sorry. Want to just talk strategy and some high points, but again, preface this by we are not expecting any action item today. We're just trying to get this in front of everybody. We want to share kind of the strategy that we talked through and some of the conversation that we've had with VHS. And I also want to give the board some feedback, because ultimately the board makes the determination on our health benefits, and our health and insurance package is a significant piece of our compensation package. We want to make sure we're giving all the due diligence, necessary time and discussion. But in front of you is some options that we've pulled together, and I don't want to ask you not to get too far ahead of yourself, because there's a lot of context here. And again, interrupt me. Charlie is here for when I say something wrong, you can throw something at me. No, Charlie is by far the expert. The only reason I'm even talking at this point is it's a lot of philosophy, strategy discussions. What are the big picture things? How does it fit into our total employment package? Not necessarily the nuts and bolts of the plans, but so we'll start. The top line there is our current plan, and that's the Healthy by Choice. It's HMO from, and you'll see almost, I think everybody that participates is on the C plan, so it's the choice plan. So really, when you look at the level of coverage, and on here you've got, I guess I'll explain the first kind of major columns, that deductible, then you go to your co-insurance and your total out-of-pocket, and then there's some additional details. But we spend a lot of our time focusing on deductible, co-insurance, and total out-of-pocket maximum. That's really the nuts and bolts of a lot of the insurance plans. But as you can see right now, our choice deductible is a $250 deductible for individuals and a $500 deductible for families. I think I would bring that up because that is a significantly better benefit than the market at this point. Charlie shared with us this morning that market is much closer to $1,500 for a single deductible, $3,000 for a family deductible. So you can see that we are 5-6 times ahead of the market. And I want, strategy-wise, I bring that up because we want to make sure our insurance and our compensation package is a component of an attractive employment package that we can pull together. So it's very much a tool, an attracting tool, and attraction and retention tool. But I don't think, and this is where I encourage you to chime in, Charlie. Based on our discussions, our $250, $500 deductible is not a long-term sustainable plan. We need to be considering moving our insurance because I think that we're ultimately going to get priced out of the market fairly quickly, and we have quite a bit of room when you look at how competitive our insurance is. So that's kind of our start. You go down the next line. This is the plan that aligns with the choice plan, but is not the healthy by choice option. And you'll notice that comes with just shy of a 20% increase. That's the largest increase we've been presented in probably, I go out on a limb, probably the duration of, we never probably saw a healthy by choice increase of that magnitude. A big increase on the healthy by choice was last year. I think we got 8.5%. So again, that 19% is, we anticipate moving forward that plan will ultimately get priced out of competitiveness. And to give you an idea, Blue Cross or that Blue Health Net, the HMO Blue Cross Network, Blue Care Network, they don't even offer a $250, $500 deductible product. But some of the things that we discussed today and some of the feedback we want from the board is from an overall plan perspective, and some of the options that we want to consider are offering, because we have more than 10 people on the plan, we have the option of providing options to our employees. So one of the things that we explored is do we offer a low deductible plan and a high deductible plan, pair the high deductible plan with a health savings account, and ultimately just try and keep our employees whole or close to whole. But as we see rate increases on the insurance, we know we have a total dollar spend to provide insurance benefits, and we just want to consider, do we give the insurance companies the money, or do we potentially find routes that put the money that we would be spending on insurance in employees' pockets? Whether that's, raising the deductible and matching it with an HSA, or if that's raising the deductible and matching it with a change in compensation or some other package. But what we've discussed is the potential, and what I wanted to share are the two alternative options on the bottom. The first one is an HMO, Priority Health HMO product that's a $500 deductible for an individual or $1,000 deductible for families. That effectively doubles the deductible, but it also doubles the percentage co-insurance. You go from 10% to 20%. So our employees would be taking on more, but that move towards the $500,000 deductible starts moving us in a direction where we are still very competitive, extremely competitive from a benefit package standpoint, but we're moving away from that product that's just not sustainable long term. And then we could evaluate, ultimately that's an impact to an employee's compensation package. But the insurance is just a component of the overall compensation package. So we want to take a step back and not just look at health insurance coverage, but want to look at the total employment package, total compensation package, and just see if there's ways to carve it up a little bit different and put us on a path that is a little bit more sustainable, or potentially moves us away from that product that potentially could, it's probably not gonna, we're not gonna be able to stick with long-term. So there is no requirement to change our structure. We could just renew the 250, 500 plan that we have now, essentially, or the mirror of what we have now, and we can absorb the 19.16% increase. The draft budget that we presented last month did include a 25% increase on insurance. So wherever we go, we use that number as a very conservative number, hoping that we would come in under that, and I'm glad you were able to, Charlie, thank you. But we include, so from a budgetary standpoint, it fits in the budget, but the question that we have is what does the board, what's the feedback from the board on a longer term vision? I think it's unsustainable to every year tackle insurance from the ground up, and we haven't had to because we've been able to stay on a consistent plan, but over time I've been a part of organizations that have been in positions where you have to make insurance coverage changes annually, and those changes are tough to communicate, and they're not sustainable long term. You're just taking it 1 year at a time and waiting for the other shoe to drop. We want to look at a strategy that puts us on a track that we feel like we have the ability to provide consistent benefits. So that's something that I think is important to the employee. And then just to give the board a little more color around our discussions, we don't have, as you can see at the top left, we have 3 singles, 1 double, and 7 families. That's not a huge group of people. So we have been, or I'm committed to continuing to get feedback from employees, and we had a small meeting with everybody on the insurance and just kind of discussed some strategies, some considerations, and I think we're in a, not necessarily unique situation, but our dynamics of our individual employees. We have some employees on our insurance that probably more frequent, that are more likely to have a major event, more likely to have frequent doctor visits. Those employees probably would prefer to stay on the low deductible plan and have set co-pays for office visits, for virtual visits, specialists, urgent care. It's just a flat fee and it works well for them. But there might be an opportunity to offer a higher deductible plan matched with a health savings account that might be attractive for younger employees, or not even younger age-wise, but employees that are less likely or more likely to be able to go extended periods of time between major medical events, which gives them the opportunity to build up a health savings account balance, and also at the same time reap that benefit of saving a little bit of money on premiums. And we would save money on premiums, they would save money on premiums. We would pick up the expense of making an employer contribution to an HSA to try and keep things close. But again, these are things that we like to consider. We just had our initial meeting today, but I'd just like to open it up to any questions, comments, feedback. And if there are none, completely understandable, because this is just presented, but kind of conceptually, I'd like to understand, the comfort level of the board of changing our benefit level and moving the deductible and pairing that with potential. We don't know exactly what they'd be, but other ways to keep our employees whole as we go through these changes, or to minimize the disruption, minimize really the financial disruption to our employees going through these changes. But yeah, just want to understand where the board's at and if there's any initial thoughts.
Yep, So I'm noticing there's not like a PPO option on here. Is that just like an untenable
So, yes,
option or?
we had a lengthy discussion about that. And Charlie can definitely share better, but my assessment of the conversation we had this morning is what you get with a PPO is more flexibility, more control as an individual, but it always comes with a higher premium. So the options that we looked at from a PPO perspective are significantly higher, and we haven't heard of issues from the HMO network. There is a little, Charlie was explaining that it's a health maintenance organization, HMO. But your primary physician, acts as the gatekeeper basically, is the way that they're originally designed. We've not ran into issues with that, and as Charlie was explaining this to us this morning, it's not necessarily handled that same way as it used to. You have access to these doctors. You may need a referral, but it's not as stringent. Can you chime in?
Spot on.
All right.
When they first started, they were gatekeepers, they were
Yeah.
your medical manager, everything had to go through your primary care physician. And you had to have a paper referral, to go ahead to see a specialist. Today, they're much more liberal. I had to get an MRI on my shoulder, called in my doc, I've been to my doc a few times. He said, he called Metro and they called me and I'm gonna get an MRI. I never went to see the doctor, but however, he knows of my history, but today, the HMO is not nearly as restrictive as what it once was. And the big point is that there's no disgruntled stress being expressed by the participants on the plan today.
We've had one comment from somebody that said, hey, I was out of state and was doing elective or things, and that became a, hey, if you reside somewhere else part of the year, you really need to coordinate your medical treatments back here more than likely. I'd say we don't want to make plan changes to accommodate, or you don't make plan changes in response to one individual. But yeah, essentially that cost of a PPO, the additional cost, there just isn't the additional benefits to go with it that we felt was warranted, an even bigger increase just to transition from an HMO product to a PPO product.
Good question.
So, but all the big ones are, Spectrum and Metro are in the network, so it's
You are correct.
not a big problem.
And Priority Health is expanding across the state very rapidly.
The other thing we didn't include was any options from anybody other than Priority Health. We reviewed Blue Care Network, the Blue Cross HMO products. We didn't review any Blue Cross PPO plans because they were even higher, but the comparable Blue, I already forgot. Blue Care, dang it, so close. The comparable Blue Care networks, from a pricing standpoint, you just get more. You get more from the Priority Health. There's pieces that are just at whether you're at the deductible level or what piece you're looking at. The Priority Health options were more.
We did that this morning.
Yeah.
Just so we didn't come in here and overwhelm everybody with all kinds of options.
Because your group is so small, we were feeling with this with the company I work for, and then there were co-ops out there that we could join to boost that from 7 to 70 to whatever it was.
Right.
I don't know that much about them, but I was just gonna say, is that something that Priority is out there looking at so that group has a membership now of 150 versus 7, getting better rates, better things like that? Maybe not today, but long term, what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, has like MMEA explored anything like that?
No. The closest, there are options out there. There's pool options, there's captives, there's different insurance structures that move you, essentially put you in a group to make you look like a very large employer. There's a law of big numbers. There's a reason why, I don't know what the stats are, you may know.
But everybody cushions the cost.
There's stat.
That would be to your advantage, Charlie, that to get hold of MEPPA or whatever it's called and say, hey, why don't we all collectively come together, and then you'd have a large group on your hand. Unless you're an agent that can't handle large groups, or are you?
We handle groups of thousands of employees.
Okay,
All right.
okay, so I didn't
So
know.
there's a lot, this, great questions.
I didn't know about.
This
the
is why
process.
Charlie wanted to bring this, to have this kind of discussion.
But that is a big opportunity
The
there.
Village of Pentwater I deal with on a regular basis, and the consultant have been, that city manager wanted to go down the same avenue. I have reached out to, we have to get 250 people, employees on the plan before we can move the needle.
Okay.
So, and there used to be multiple employer MIWAs. A lot of them have come and gone, because groups will join into those, and then they go out because my neighbor group had a bad year, okay? Now I'm paying for their claims. But they're hard to stay consistent. I mean, it sounds great, warm and fuzzy, but it's hard to sustain a long time. There's different ways, you know, but through what, most employers your size will priority help.
Down the road, I could see, you revisiting this to look at maybe making this a larger group, so that we would be, everybody cushions the cost. If you got a large group, everybody, then your costs go very minimal. Not prescription drugs, so guess what? You're still gonna lose on prescription drugs, period.
So a couple questions. So this is ours. The second one down is what is the most
It's the,
close.
it is the healthy by choice plan without the choice. It's just the better of the two.
Yeah,
It mirrors the plan that everybody that's on the insurance is actually on, because everybody goes through the steps to get the better benefit. It's pretty,
Of course.
the thresholds, the bar's not real hard to get over. So, healthy by choice.
my question, so between that and the two alternatives that possibly looking at, do we have employees that are on special, have kids, families that are on special needs, special drugs? Does that carry, I mean,
It's the
the
same.
biggest thing that I look at is what's gonna be the cleanest, smoothest transition without causing our employees headaches, heartaches, whatever the case may be. And again, and I'm just looking at, do we have employees that are on, not taking insurance from us, that, or benefits that are, maybe their wife or their spouse, I should say, not wife, but have not employees of here, but are working someplace else and they've chosen to have insurance through their spouse, or is 100% of our employees on?
No. We don't, so for one, this is, and I should have clarified this initially, this does not apply to union employees. Union employees get their insurance through the union.
Okay,
So that's a group that's excluded from this. And then, yes, anybody has the option of getting insurance, they can opt out, and we have a provision in our policy where we'll pay us, essentially an opt-out stipend to, somebody says, hey, I've got insurance through my wife, we don't need like power insurance. So yes, there are people who are eligible for our insurance that do not take it because they get it. And I'd like to add a third thing to your list of things of consideration, because I think it's important, and it kind of ties into that disruption, is longevity. We might not, we have choices. We could choose to just renew this year, and I'm not saying it's a bad option. At some point though, that won't be sustainable. So we've got to find a balance. So that long, the simple thing from a short-term minimizing disruption, minimizing things, is just to go with the 20%, and that may be the right move, but I don't want to assume it is initially. I want to get feedback, because again, we're going to cut $33,000 more to priority health if we just renew, and if that's what we're willing to spend, and that's our commitment, which 90% of that's our commitment, not see the split, but at some point, do we continue to give money to the insurance companies, or do we look for an alternative structure to give that money to our employees and find ways to keep them whole? So, there's a disruption in that. Even if an employee is kept whole, I've gone through insurance changes where we have made the benefits better, but it actually included an increase in deductible, and people, it's tough to communicate. Insurance is not, most households have one person that deals with insurance things, and the other person is the tag-along. So communicating with the appropriate people is always tough. So I completely agree that we need to minimize that disruption and just acknowledge that this is a significant piece of our compensation package. But there's also a balance on short-term disruption versus long-term disruption. If we continue to say, hey, because again, we may say, hey, let's move here, but long-term, and one of the conversations we had is just in general, the problem with HMOs is, and you did a great job explaining, you are a user, not a can you explain your you call it, as an HMO, you're a consumer, or you're a user, not a consumer. There's no consumerism in an HMO plan. It's, here you go.
That is correct. And I'm not certain that this really is part of where we want to go here this evening, but however, when I have a $6 copay, whether it's my office copay, my prescription drug copay, I really don't care how much it costs, because I'm going to pay $10, $20. Could be $7 more, could be $700 more, but it's irrelevant to me. This bottom line of what was quickly referenced to, this health savings account, I get a $1,600 deductible. I have to spend $1,600 before Priority Health is going to spend anything at all. So that forces me to become a consumer. Now, am I going to the freestanding MRI facility, or am I going to the hospital? One's $700, one's $2,300. This bottom plan really forces engagement, consumerism. The traditional HMO product, you're a user of the system. But
and I guess I bring it up because it highlights that we are going to continue to face challenges in price and premium challenges with a low deductible HMO product. Not to say we can't absorb them, but at some point, whether that's a year, 2 years, 5 years, we know that there will continue to be shifts. So can we, if we're going to need to change, do we start heading in a direction that puts us on a trajectory that we think is more sustainable? Or do we say, hey, we take advantage of this $250 deductible while we can, and let's hold on to it for as long as we can? There's philosophical discussions there, but I personally, and I hadn't ran the numbers, I think that there's an opportunity to move our benefits in increasing the deductible, increasing some of the employee, the user's responsibilities, but ultimately we can backdoor whether it's an HSA. I guess I should also, I kind of take for granted that I deal with insurance on an annual basis. Is everybody familiar with a health savings account, an HSA?
Yes.
I'll say, I made the assumption, but didn't want to.
Here's the thing, we could go with that Priority Health HSA, and if we're saying we've got, how many people are on the plan? Right now, 7?
3,
10?
11.
11 parties.
11, okay, so you take, let's say the $30,000 that we would spend on this better plan, divide that by 11, and take that and put it into everybody's HSA, and how much, I can't do the math on
No,
it, it's like $3,000 a piece.
But, and that's where, not quite that, but that, pretty similar to the conversation we had, the concept of, do we give the insurance companies money, or do we give our employees money? Do we compensate, do we pay for something we give the insurance, we give Priority Health, We give Priority Health an extra $30,000. Once we write that check, it's gone. We give Julie a check, we give me a check, give everybody else on the insurance a check, that's their money.
It stays with you.
It stays with you. There's tax benefits of an HSA that I wouldn't begin to understand right now.
It's just non-taxable money.
Well, there's qualifications. Yeah, there's qualifications.
Well, it has to be for medical expenses.
But you also have to participate in you have to participate in a high deductible healthcare plan to get the preferable, to have it, or to get preferential tax treatment.
Just to have an HSA account.
The bank won't open it. They're not supposed to open one unless.
Yeah, you're not gonna cut anybody a check,
Everyone's
it
right
goes
what you're
into an account,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, an HSA sits at a bank. It is a bank account in the employee's name, so. But yeah, conceptually, that's what we want to try and attack. But to your point also about, specialty treatments, things like that, are people, we don't want to disrupt a current treatment. I guess that's why that's why we're having meetings with every employee that currently is enrolled and would be affected, but want to speak a little, I don't want to make an assumption, and I wouldn't say if Charlie wasn't here to correct me if I'm wrong, but we're staying with the same network in all 4 plans, correct?
Yes.
So what access you have and what doctors you have access to would stay the same across all 4 plans. The cost ultimately is where your big change is, and what your premium is versus your deductible versus your co-insurance versus your maximum out-of-pocket. But the actual treatment that is being received, you should have access to the same doctors or the same
And the
network.
same prescriptions.
Yeah.
So if there is one person taking specialty drugs or something of that nature, that what is covered will be covered on all of these plans. It's just how you want to cover it.
So I guess the thought I had is that I know for where I work, years ago I put together a spreadsheet, so whenever they came out with enrollment, I could go through their options and figure out which one I need to use based on the tax savings of HSAs and the premiums versus this and before and after taxes, and it wasn't terribly hard to put together, but obviously my company wouldn't do that for me because there's thousands of us, but given that there's only 11 members, is that something that we could do where you kind of say, hey, for each of you, what you guys did last year, whatever you spent for healthcare last year, here's what it would cost under this plan, or just to see the impact to them. Because when I look at on this spreadsheet, I kind of see the bottom line is saying, well, if the out-of-pocket max is lower compared to what we have now, and if the premium's lower what we have now, then how could that cost anyone more? Unless there's that very low healthcare, that you're at the very low level of medical expenses, right? So it's a high deductible piece. But then having an HSA more than makes up for that.
So, spot on. So, size 10 shoe doesn't fit everybody. And that's sort of where Charlie was going with his idea of having 2 plans offered. But the comprehensiveness of this HSA plan is real. You can fund the HSA plan, maybe not 100%, 7 of your people on the plan are families.
Right.
You can fund it to the point that their exposure is far less than what it is today.
Yeah.
And then they have the option to contribute to fund it even more.
Yeah.
And
So, yes. And part of that education process, part of my job is to make sure that your participants on this plan are given an opportunity to get educated to the choices. So yes, if they want to sit down with me, I make myself available. We might have an employee meeting where everybody comes in and I hang out and talk to the one-offs afterwards. But that educational process is part of what I do.
It's huge.
Yep. Yeah, because I think if we are able to offer 2, then that helps. From my own experience, my company offers 3. Plan 2 is never the cheapest in any scenario, so I don't know why we ever offer it. But it's only offered like $40 or $50 or something. It's like, well, where's that?
If you were to show this to somebody that is not, if you were to show this to somebody that is not savvy in their decision-making process, $1,600 deductible, but you got to educate them the fact that we're going to fund some of that deductible. And we're going to put that through. so, you know, you gotta make, and we mentioned this morning, you know, we can't offer to have nobody in it. But the way it is, more than likely somebody's gonna get in it. It will organically grow. I'm always gonna be viewed as the sales guy sitting in the room, you know, trying to be manipulative or whatever. But you might enroll this year, and then at lunch you're talking to your coworker about it, and he's gonna enroll next year. The HSA plans grow as, with the duration of time, because people get more comfortable and, you know, it worked for Julie, you know, well, maybe I can try it, you know, so.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
was doing like an HSA one for my health, 15 years or something, except for when we had kids and we switched to the below deductible one, knowing we're gonna have expenses the following year and then switch back.
I'm
And it's kind of nice because now HSA has enough buffer to do a lot of things, so.
That's exactly it.
HSA.
Once every 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
something's gonna happen within your family.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's actuarially that's out there. But if you can save for 2-3 years, fund that, and then save going forward, you know, the ideal way of these HSAs is just what they are, health savings accounts. It's helping the person save for
Yep.
retirement medical expenses.
Yep.
It's better than a 401k plan.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I take it out, I don't get taxed.
Mhm.
When I'm using it for medical expenses, I take my 401k money out, I get taxed,
Right.
you know?
And there's the discipline, saving, how disciplined are you to save for you and your family?
Well, the nice thing about an HSA to it is, from my experience, and it's limited, there is a, kind of like our retirement, you know, we make non-elected contributions to retirement. So you can choose to not be,
Yep,
do what you need to do for you, but we take on some obligation. So it's similar to an HSA is, we look to fund it, you know, do a piece through, you know, as an employer contribution, but those employees also have that opportunity to add it, so up to a cap, I think it's around $8,000 a year, I don't know,
It changes every year.
yeah, it goes up every year, but somewhere in $9,000 a year range is what you can receive preferential tax treatment on. So some people will never make any additional contribution, and they would ride with what the employer puts in there. Sometimes, you know, others will choose to more prudently save, and you'll run the gambit across the employee group. But yes, there is an element to a little bit of controlling your own destiny and controlling your own ability to pay for future expenses.
Because we could potentially like give people bonuses into their HSA account, rather, so it would be tax-free, well, up to a certain point, right?
Well, mine, I would, I don't know necessarily about bonus, we don't do bonuses,
Okay.
really. Tough to do as a governmental entity. But, you know, the thought is there's different ways, I've seen companies, and Charlie probably knows, you can make a one-time annual contribution, you can make monthly contribution, everybody carves it up a little different, but,
So what would be your contribution that you're thinking of?
it's who's you? Employer or employee?
So your,
Employer, honestly, we don't know. I need to crunch the numbers, and, you know, the idea is to look at what's a total pool of money that we have available, you know, what's our total, you know, commitment from from the utilities perspective, and then, you know, how do we essentially we're looking at, you know, a renewal of $205,000, we're gonna put 9% of that. You know, there is a pool of money that we ultimately save, and the difference between the two premiums, and I would look at the difference in premiums to essentially say, as a utility, we can absorb and are committed to this spend in a year. What does that translate to? And then that kind of is a baseline moving forward, or would be a baseline moving forward. Or we'd also look at, it would depend on the deductible levels. Obviously, you know, we're not gonna provide $4,000 a year to a family that has a $3,200 aggregate. So there would.
and I get that, but, you know, but let me throw this out there, that putting that dollar amount, which I'm sure that you're not going to submit this to our employees without saying, okay, if you go with HSA, this is the dollar amount that we would put towards singly, and
Oh,
this is the
yes.
dollar amount we would do for the family. so that at least they can get an education immediately. That if you're gonna give me $1,000, I'm looking at a still a $600 deductible. And maybe I don't wanna do that because I would rather do the $250 deductible.
But there's moving pieces, because the employee also pays that 10% of the premium. So,
Right.
they may have more, and this is where, again, under normal circumstances, I'd sit and spend quite a few hours digesting this and, bring those numbers, but we just don't have that luxury of time right now, so.
I can give a quick little scenario, maybe this will help out here. As far as getting down.
Give me a scenario.
So if you renew with the suggested plan from Priority Health,
Okay.
that comes in on a monthly basis of, let's just say $17,000. And you offer the HSA, it comes in 13, yeah. Right there, you've got a savings of $4,000 a month, $48,000 a year that you can put back into this HSA. I'm just trying to give you a number out there.
Right.
Now, obviously, Charlie just mentioned, you gotta work off 90% of that, okay, because employee contributes 10. Maybe you go to the HMO 500, okay? The scenario of what he presented this morning is he wants to keep everybody whole. So say he goes to the HSA, but Judy stays on a traditional plan, he's gotta make this HSA attractive enough to keep, so if the decision is to go with a $500 deductible, that monthly premium is $15,000. Monthly premium, once again, $13,000 on the HSA, now you got $2,000 a month to work with, 24 instead of 48. Those are the kind of numbers that he's gonna have to go back and crush in order to be able to give some of that information when they're making that decision between plans. But I'm just sharing with you how he can come up with those numbers. So they're there. You just gotta get to them.
And the other piece of that is, because we have such a small group, it is different for every individual, because we are member level rated. Everybody has an individual premium, so, and that's where there's a lot of figuring, because there's certain people that it just probably isn't gonna make sense to go an HSA route. If you're close to retirement, or you go to the doctor regularly, you have major medical expenses, things like that, it may not make sense to go that route. It's not just as easy as saying, hey, we're gonna do $1,000 and this is what our spend will
Let's
be.
just cut to the chase, Charlie, because everybody here understands what the HSA is. Am I correct, Perry? Am I correct, guys?
I'm glad that we're doing this right now, and we
Yes.
have time to delve through it and everything. And the reason why I have a hard time making these, when it comes to health insurance and these decisions, because I've been self-employed for many, many years, and it was like, as soon as I turned 65 and gone to Medicare, it was, thank God, it was Christmas time. Because when you're talking like, somebody's talking about a $1,600 deductible, I would have given anything to have my deductibles, and when you're self-employed, in order to be affordable, are in the range of $8,000 to $10,000 for so I'm spending every year, my deductible.
And your premiums are more.
And my premiums are more and everything else. So and I never want to diminish what our employees are, and so that's why some of those questions that I have is, does it change anything for our employees? Because again, I'm concerned about that, and part of it is being self-employed for so many years that, again, any one of these plans as an employee, I would have signed up as fast as I could put my name on there.
Right.
Believe me. So that's why I have to really think everything through, really quantitative, and get the feedback from our employees before I, would vote again, because I want what's best for our employees and our company. It's got to be mutually beneficial. My one question would be, how many people, because we go back to different things that sitting on the board for as long as I have, that one year when we went to one and we actually saved money in our premiums, what did we do with that? We divided that up and came up with, oh, okay, we want helping people, we're gonna give you $400
Yes.
towards a, health club, to
Yes.
YMCA or whatever. My question would be, how many people are utilizing that? And maybe that's where the ASA, we go back and instead of taking that $400 and putting it towards the health club, the YMCA, whatever it is, maybe we take that money and put that in the ASA, you know, and put that benefit in there, still giving them that benefit, but just in a different way. So those are the things that I have to think through when I'm trying to make a decision, what's best for the company and best for our employees.
And that's key to what Perry just said, is that these employees, not everybody gets what an HSA is and how that works, okay? And if you were, and I can understand why you want to funnel us down to the HSA plan. You know, it's like, this is a good deal, blah, blah, blah.
I guess, I don't wanna funnel you to the HSA plan, I wanna funnel to options.
Okay.
So you all understand the landscape, but I think the more we understand the landscape, the more the HSA
And I do
appears to be
understand the
attractive.
landscape, and I understand the pricing here. However, the one thing in this pricing that you're lacking, and this is something that I think Priority Health can bring to the table, is it's cheaper to go with this HSA. It's more legwork for our employees. I get that. And education is number one needed, so that I don't get a call, or you get a call saying, well, I got this blah, 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 and I don't, and long story short, they don't use their insurance, and they come to work sick because they don't know how to use it, okay? Number one. Number two, if you want to funnel them into it, which I've seen people pull off, and I don't know if Priority Health can, you got 3 people that aren't married, add a domestic partner on there, and they would buy into an HSA in a minute. So that they can put their boyfriend on there, or their girlfriend on there,
You decide that.
or
it's
my
gonna be-
partner on there.
Every employer's dealing with this today. You decide as an employer, it's
Their
ours.
partner would be,
I mean, if we want domestic partners covered, you as a board is gonna decide that, okay? Some people of different beliefs and faiths, no way is that ever gonna happen. Other people, but my point is yes.
that's
That can-
huge
that can be
for
done.
employees. If
I mean-
if they come to the table and I'm a single woman and I have a partner, and you
Just so
guys,
you know,
it's between you,
the three that are on there are retirees.
okay.
Mhm.
Or anybody else, let's say that somebody gets
Before
divorced.
65, so.
They have, you know, if that's a really nice juicy option that really doesn't cost a lot, that you can.
So I have one,
Well, it costs, absolutely, because we have to cover 90% of the premium
Right,
of
but
another
the
person.
thing, right, but
And the
But it's
HSA contribution is
it's a
potentially
big
double.
badge that you hand out there to them.
are those 3 people that you mentioned,
They're retirees?
are they the employees that, because we weren't gonna go back and take something away from, again, if you remember that, Lowell and Power had a policy that we were paying their health benefits, till the day they died. Whereas a lot of the other, you know, there's typically, nowadays, there's timeframes of how long you're gonna pay their health insurance after they, so do we still have, are those 3 people or 1 or 2 of them, are they still the are they still the retirees that were paying their health insurance till the day they die?
Yeah, but at 65, they come off of
Oh.
a medic, we don't pay for insurance at 65, we provide a stipend.
Okay, right.
So we don't provide insurance, we provide money at 65.
Charlie, isn't it sustainable that we continue to do the 19% increase over time? I mean, if you look at the renewal, it's a 19% increase.
The
And
average
you
increase
can-
that Priority Health is giving out this year is between 8 and 10%. The reason for the 19% is because the plan that you are in the way.
Right,
So if you were to put in your budget for next year, I would budget no less than 10%.
10%,
But
okay.
very unlikely, I mean, it might come in at 12, 13, I can't.
Right,
But
exactly.
very unlikely will it come in at 20.
Yeah.
It's just because the plan you're on is
It's all single digits lately, but,
Right.
yeah. So, I just wanna make sure it's sustainable for you guys too.
Yeah, I mean, the 19's not the question is the plan, how it does, to me, it's, nobody has a crystal ball what Priority Health's gonna do in 2 years, 5 years, but the fact that Blue Cross, and the Blue Care Network don't even offer a $250 deductible plan tells me that they're going to be incentivized. If it costs Priority Health money or they don't make the same margins on it, they will price it out of the market. And it's the most likely to be priced out of the market because it's the most likely to put significant or more expenses on Priority Health. So I have no crystal ball. Where's yours, Charlie? Where's that plan gonna do in 5 years?
So, Charlie, what's your point that you wanted to?
I want to compliment, not compliment, but add to Perry's statement as far as self-employed things of that nature. Charlie shared the fact that the average deductible in West Michigan is like $1,500. Also, what is average in West Michigan is that the employee contribution out of their paycheck is 20 to 25%. So your employees are paying, and for those people that aren't on your plan, they gotta have a Cadillac offered to them because you got a Cadillac sitting here that you're getting 10% of it paid for by the employee. So, I mean, not only is it comprehensive, but it's very competitive in price as far as what you as an employer are providing to employees. So, there's some moving parts there, but it's not just the deductible, it's also your contribution. It's a great plan, it's offered.
Yeah, it's phenomenal insurance. And I think it's important to make sure, to your point, I completely understand, how your self-employed shapes your perspective.
Shapes my perspective, but I never, that's what I chose, kinda, but that's what I chose, to do. So I never wanna hold that against somebody that chose to be in this industry or any other industry. I never want to be, looked at as, oh, you're just an SOB that,
No, we've had enough.
doesn't appreciate it.
We've had conversations, and I know that you see this as a significant piece of the employment package, and you understand, obviously, we talked about the importance that this plays in our employees, personal lives, so I wouldn't want anybody to misconstrue a comment as, I had a $10,000 deductible, be thankful it's anything less than that, because I know that's definitely not what you're referencing, I guess, in that situation. But I've had.
But you
super
do
high-
feel it.
Yeah. Oh, I've had some super high deductible. I think when I left previous community, my deductible was, I think it was 16.5, 15.5, something like that. I mean, but it was also paired with an HSA. It was paired with, at that point, it was paired with an
And
HRA.
then you came here, and what is it?
That's phenomenal. I love my insurance here.
So that just shows you that that's a lot of leverage.
Yeah,
to
yes,
be
that's-
able to do.
and that's what I'm saying, and I bring that up because I don't want to negatively impact employees
Not at all.
unless but
No.
there are other ways, we can make something here a little less appetizing and we can make something over here a little more appetizing. That deductible is not more appetizing, but when you pair it with an HSA, it balances things out and starts to move us in a direction that's potentially more sustainable. So what's this stupid, almost there's a million ways to skin a cat.
Still a cat.
That's where we're at. You skin this up a lot of different ways.
So is the idea that the bottom two rows are what being offered? or something along those lines? I mean, I
Well,
know,
we've got 3 here, right?
well, I'm kind of, that's what I'm wondering, is
Yeah.
the third one even an option, or is it?
Sorry, which one, the H?
Sorry,
The 500?
The 10%.
So
It's
I,
just showing a higher deductible.
yeah, it's showing a move, an alternative plan that is comparable, but yet moves us in the market. You know, it moves us in the market, we lose a little bit of competitiveness there, but you know, I guess some options. We have lots, the board has lots of options. We could do a straight renewal, basically, with that, the priority HMO 250. We could do a priority HMO 250 with an HSA plan. We could also we could do the HMO 500 by itself. You can pick and choose, but the thought was, hey, what, as far as, just information is, what does a renewal look like? What does a one-step remove from a renewal look like? And what's a completely alternative structure, essentially, to consider? And we looked at these and funneled them down, and there's, we looked at, there's,
Oh, yeah.
So I,
a bunch of other ones, but that's kind of the idea. And right now, we just met today, I don't have a recommendation. I don't know what route will pan out when we really look at the numbers, and what we'll be able to offer from an HSA, or who we think might go this route versus this route. So right now, it really is just a strategy conversation, put it in front of you, give you all something to think about, because we probably need to have 2 more conversations about this, and actually take action at that second conversation, so at least 3 total conversations. I wouldn't anticipate truly.
We need to get feedback from your employees first.
so
yeah,
I have
before we can discuss.
one last question, and maybe each one of us has one last, because Julie's informed me she only has 3 hours of battery time, so we have to.
One and a half left.
So we have to move on.
She keeps hitting this number, so
I
it's
know,
going less and
like
less and less and less and less.
So
Green brighter.
I just want to have an understanding as the board, are we looking at, when we come to a time to vote, are we looking at one option? Or are we looking at, okay, we could go with the renewal and we could go with an ASA? So are we looking at, are we having to pigeonhole ourselves into one of these plans?
Okay.
So how does that work if you have, I mean, this is like the 205,000 is based on, you're taking the 11 that we currently have and on there. So if we have 3 people that decide to go with priority 500, and we have 5 people that go with the renewal, with the basic renewal, and we have 3.
So I would say the options would be limited, I would say the options would be limited to 2.
Okay,
And
that's
it
what I
would-
need to know.
And it would, my recommendation initially would be offer a low deductible healthcare plan and a higher, and
And an HSA.
add, this is one plan, and either one of these, if we wanted to provide options to employees,
Of course we do.
or either one of these. I don't recommend replacing this with this. That's way too big of a change in 1 year to try and communicate. So I think either one of these.
There's no issue with us offering 2 then?
No, we can offer 2 plans as long as we have more than 10 people, or 10.
At 10.
At 10. That's good, because we may drop, if we drop one, I want to make sure we're not teetering on.
I can get enough for
All right, so we can offer 2, and just looking at the demographics of who we serve, I think there's a really good chance it makes sense to offer, there's a good potential that what makes sense to one person doesn't make sense to another. But to your point, we won't know a dollar until we truly know, because every individual that is insured has a different premium no matter what plan we're on. So we cannot know our true cost. Granted, if everybody moved here, or if everybody moved here. So hypothetically, if we're here, if we offer this plan and this plan, that becomes our, from a premium standpoint, excluding HSA contributions, that becomes our ceiling, that becomes our floor. If everybody's here, we go here. If everybody's here, we go here. To Charlie's point earlier, we can't offer a plan that nobody's on, so we know it will be something less than that. And I know based on the initial conversation that we had with everybody, there's the HSA concept didn't scare people. Most people were familiar. 10 years ago, I don't think people were quite as familiar with them, and people got a little scared.
It just shows we're having a younger and younger staff. These old guys like me are going like, teaching old people new tricks is tough.
I get that.
Yeah, it just
You can change your workers' comp, you
Overall
can
health
change your
insurance.
disability, and it's transparent
Even
to
what we
everybody.
give right now.
Touch health insurance, people get emotional.
Most people I know.
You know, it's-
Any
and it's
option,
justified.
something like that, so.
You know,
And give up a kidney.
And HSAs tend to be better for
Depending on,
younger people who don't use the doctors often.
Area.
Sporadic. Yeah, you can be young and have chronic health issues. And it's
Educating about, that after that deductible, and they're still paying that 20%, like that 20% is less their tax percentage, because all they have to do is put money in there, just say, take it out, and then they save that on their tax return, so like, that's part of it. The other thing that maybe people should be aware of is your HSA and your deductible, the plan with the HSA is gonna function on calendar year. So, if you go in and you get an MRI on December 13th, but you don't get your surgery to January 15th, you're gonna double up, you're gonna pay that deductible twice.
Priority health will allow this to run on a plan year. Blue Cross won't, but priority health will allow this to run on a plan year. And what I mean by plan year is July 1 to July 1.
Yes.
Sure. Well, however you dice it, there's gonna be a day where if you build up to your deductible for it, and then 2 weeks later, you bear back in.
When your deductible is
You're
$500,
gonna
it's
get double
easier.
dipped when timing's always a concern, where I'm like, oh, I don't wanna, mine was on a year end at one point, and I was like, I'm going in for this, all these appointments, and my surgery got pushed to January, and I was like, well, there,
Now I've got a
otherwise the
second
surgery would
deductible.
completely cover,
It's like
and
when
then
you-
I had to pay.
And that just
for a
gets
year.
more, you have that problem now with a low deductible health plan, that just the magnitude of the impacts is significantly reduced
Yeah.
because your deductible is reduced. Right now, you got $250 worth of exposure, you go down as an individual,
Sure.
you go to the bottom, you don't
Yeah.
time it quite as well, now you're at $1,600 of exposure.
But if we're padding the HSA plan, well,
You tend to,
You are correct.
if you're doing your HSA, right, or you're putting money, saving money in it, you tend to come out ahead. Overall, it really depends on individual circumstances, how often you go to doctor, what you go to doctor for, but.
And the initial response from employees when I said, hey, we pulled the group together, I just announced that, we have to make a change, and here's the questions we're gonna be asking, here's how we're gonna approach this. This is kind of our general strategy to work with BHS and understand what options we have, and I told them at that point that I would like to explore an HSA option, and there were a lot of heads going, yes, I had it, and it tended to be, the people that you would think would make more sense to be on that HSA, that are less frequent flyers to the doctor, they are, less prone to have significant medical expenses, so, it appered to be an attractive offer.
And there's additional stuff you can deduct, it's qualified medical expenses when you're on HSA. When you go buy Band-Aids, those are qualified medical expenses, so that's another thing you can now, that tax savings plays into, if you buy Band-Aids at $10, they're really like $8 if you figure in what you save on your federal tax return by contributing it to your HSA and using your HSA. So things like that, all those kinds of things are little things that,
contact lens solution, I think. is-
contact lenses, lots of, I'm not sure all vitamins, but,
Yeah, your deductible on your dental plan. Your copay on your vision plan.
yeah.
So-
You can use this, as you said.
That was my next
Yeah.
question,
And maybe
is dental
talking about
vision and
you
hearing,
can
are
build
they
up qualified
separate
medical
entities, or
expenses
is
over
this?
years.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
There's things,
you
that
can
one's,
use the HSA to.
I don't think it's been
Pay your
endorsed by
out-of-pocket
Congress,
expenses for
but it's
those
been
plans.
talked about.
But this is priority health, and so Delta Dental, so yes, they are different entities,
Yes.
except for that HSA account.
It's
Okay.
important.
Yep.
Minor classes.
I know that this is very important, but again, I think, hopefully we can get, if we need, we can get Charlie to come back again.
Absolutely.
And he lives right out here on Seaguin.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore, we found out they moved.
Did you move?
What do
I
you do?
moved to the first line down.
Okay.
I'm still low.
So, with the vision, is LASIK surgery covered?
There's a discount program through the vision plan that's there. It's not like a 50% or 20% or something of that nature. But there is a discount offered to people for LASIK procedures through the current plan.
Okay.
You just don't get a tax benefit.
What about braces for people
You did
over
research
19?
on
and
No.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't remember.
Okay. And,
Good questions.
we'll,
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the knowledge of the people at this table with health insurance. I compliments, kudos to you. You know, I will be available anytime you want. Charlie, Julie, you got my cell number. Thank you for your
What's your phone
time.
number?
I'll give you my business card if you want.
Yeah, I like that.
Um,
Thank you.
But,
Do you want to say your address into the camera?
Hey, there's somebody at this table that I heard give a phone number out on a public meeting yesterday.
Yeah. Jim, you wanna give that again?
Got one call.
And once again, a lot of things can be changed. When you touch health insurance, everybody gets emotional.
Which
Yes.
which is
Of course,
the
of
only, the
course.
last thing I wanted to touch on, is just give the board an update. I will plan
Thank you.
on holding another employee.
I sure might.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's grabbing
Thank you.
on the way out, right?
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, have a good night.
See him?
But the last,
Nope, right there, the trash is good, thank you. Have a good night.
Having the ability to have two of them,
Thank you.
like, almost makes it kind of a no-brainer to offer the two, in my opinion. And then it's just educating people and make sure they know, because we want them to be, no, I don't want people to go like, what, deductible, da-da-da, and then like, then they end up probably spending more money, or they would have been better off, they'd have an HSA that's sitting there building value.
so the next step will be to pull employees together again, from our standpoint, obviously the board, different perspective, I'm gonna pull, probably next week or sometime we'll have another employee meeting, and again, it's up to
What's your new hire waiting period?
first day of the month following your month of hire, I believe.
Okay.
Julie,
it's the second Monday of the fourth Tuesday of the 15th month, and
Do you have a rehire waiting period?
I don't know about rehire.
I'm not sure, it's never been
We
relevant.
rehire.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's never been relevant,
Well,
honestly.
sometimes people
Yeah.
go out because they retire and then they say, no, I'm not gonna retire, I want to come back, and
Yeah,
their
we've
hire is
not-
different.
We've not had that situation to know the answer to that question.
Okay. But I'd like to circle back, and it's not a dead horse, domestic partner down the road. I really, because it's important.
I guess what gap would we be trying to, what's the problem we're fixing, I guess? Or is it,
I would say it's a great benefit to have in your back pocket for fishing for new employees.
this is a new concept to me, I've never heard of even making insurance available to domestic partners,
This has
so.
been going on for years,
Yeah, I'd say it's never been
you know.
a topic.
And the reason why I'm saying for domestic partner is because, you don't have to put feet to the fire.
I'd say somebody can kill that bug, somebody can kill that bug.
Okay.
There are a lot of younger people that are couples these days that are not getting
They're
married.
not going to get married, and that's.
So you're just saying two unmarried people?
So what, I guess the question
Two
becomes, what,
unmarried people, whether they're the same sex or they are different sex.
Right.
and I'm thinking about the logistics, what
Yeah.
constitutes, at what point, if I go.
Like, if you swipe right on Tinder,
Yeah, I mean, that's my question, is if I.
You know, they haven't had the same
Okay.
mailing address, they have to. or
Wait,
something.
okay, are you asking what the credentials are?
Yeah, like what
Say
establishes, yeah, what establishes a domestic
You come to
partnership?
the table and you show that Jane is also paying for the gas at 806 Lafayette, along with Tina's paying the phone bill and the light bill at 806 Lafayette.
How do you know when it
That's part of that.
ends?
What?
How do you know if it ends?
The employee comes back and tells you. It's a
I
benefit.
think
What,
it's-
when do
it's
we
not
tell
that
you
common.
that I'm not taking Xanax anymore?
But that's different. Because if you no longer have a domestic, I don't need to know what you're taking, but if you have a domestic partnership and we're paying for your partner's benefit, if you are no longer a partner, I don't want to continue to pay for the
And I
benefit.
get that,
Well,
but I'm gonna
I
tell you
guess
right
that would
now, if
have to
my
be-
partner doesn't live with me anymore, better bet your bottom dollar, I'm coming in the office and saying,
You
you're
have
not,
to
you're
have
not
a-
paying for it.
Requirement to
Maybe you,
inform.
maybe a lot.
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm not,
I don't think it's that common.
I'm saying, I mean,
Sure,
it's just,
policies out there that can be,
I would imagine, I'm not saying it's a deal killer, I just,
But it's a good benefit, it's a good
Yeah.
benefit.
I understand
But I
that,
don't
I
think
just, I see, I think Charlie's point is, how do you regulate
Police
that?
it, yeah.
How do-
how are the mechanics?
Yeah, what are the if it's, but if it's been around, then
Yes,
it's.
then they should,
be
conceptually, I get it, and I think it
It's
makes
been
sense,
around.
but when the boots hit the ground, how do we make it work
Right.
effectively?
How do you know if somebody's really gotten a legal divorce or not, unless they tell you?
Right. Nobody, nobody. Because David could have moved out years ago. and
Well, does your
he's still
health
on my
insurance plan have access to that?
And that's right, I don't know.
Like when-
Yeah.
When you,
I don't have answers to those.
And I know that we're
Some I
beating a
will.
dead horse, not a dead horse, this is not.
No.
This is important to me, because domestic partner is real. And I don't feel that you have to get married to be able to, if I work for you, and you say, this is what we're offering, heck yeah, you know what, I'm staying with you now. Because I love the fact that I don't have to marry somebody and endanger what I built prior to that person coming into my life in a divorce. That's what's happened, kids are not marrying these days.
No, I conceptually, I think it's a great idea, and I'm personally not opposed to it at all, I want to understand it before I say,
Okay.
conceptually, it's great, let's do it, and then go,
Uh-huh.
oh shoot, there's a stumbling, there's this, I just want to think,
But it's
But
your
conceptually, I think
stumbling
it's
block,
great.
it's your stumbling block, because you could turn around and say, all you have to do is tell me, Tina, when they leave. That's on you. You can make that decision, it's not Blue Cross Blue Shield decision, it's not Priority Health's decision.
so I guess, I think the
It's
issue
yours.
is that it's something that's important that we should.
it's not I don't get to approve our insurance.
You get to, with a domestic partner,
But
you
you said
can set the
policy, yeah.
pace.
I get
You can set
to,
that
you're saying,
pace.
I would determine you're eligible, you're not eligible,
Right.
or you met the criteria, I get that,
That's
yes. I thought you were saying, it's my call that, whether or not we offered or not, I said, I don't think it's how that,
Well, domestic partner, yeah.
but to an
Well, no, he
individual.
was just saying it is the board's.
Yes, it's the board's decision, the
Yeah.
board
Okay.
determines the level of benefit and what benefits are offered, and if we're going to extend a benefit to a domestic partner, that's ultimately the board's decision, I think, I personally am. Conceptually, I'm supportive of it in my role, if you're asking for feedback, but I just want to understand.
It used to be years ago, I could have been insured my mother-in-law if she lived with me, when I first worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I'll give my mother-in-law insurance if she doesn't live with me.
That's on tape.
Yeah. He was just.
Okay, moving on.
I did what I could to move the conversation along. Thank you.
Non-union overtime policy update.
All right, I prefaced this last month, this is
Thank you.
what I see is a relatively simple change, but essentially since we have moved to a more, with the schedule change, office schedule change, we've opened up opportunities for a little bit expanded remote work. And over the President's Day holiday, we actually turned down some requests to work remotely on the holiday because our current policy requires us to pay double time on a holiday. So it got Julie and I kind of talking about, do we want to provide the employees some flexibility without hopefully not creating a situation that is ripe for abuse by somebody sitting in my position or Julie's position somewhere down the road.
As long as the work gets done,
I'm sorry?
as long as the work gets done.
Yes, but I don't think, you shouldn't be, not all work is worth double time.
You shouldn't flex your
Right.
schedule.
You shouldn't flex your schedule so that you can take advantage of policy-based overtime. So what we'd like to do is,
Wait a minute, so is your work week Sunday through Saturday, or is it Monday through Sunday?
Monday through Sunday.
Okay, because I wondered how that was gonna pan out.
Yeah, Monday through
You get paid
Sunday.
every 2 weeks.
Yes.
All right, sorry, I'm on your road.
No, please. But essentially, the policy just creates an exemption to our overtime policy that would require us to pay either time and a half or double time during certain weekends or holidays. And essentially, the policy just reads that non-exempt employees may request, it has to be initiated by the employee, request to work remotely on Saturdays, Sundays, or holidays at their regular straight time pay rate, as long as their weekly hours did not exceed 40, which is a mandate with Fair Labor Standards Act. Essentially, the policy says if Ryan, bad example because he's not a non-exempt employee, but still, if Ryan wants to go home and work on a Saturday because it is convenient to him, this just opens up the flexibility to say you have a little bit of flexibility, but it has to be coordinated, and it really only applies to the office staff. I believe they're the only non-exempt.
But they can come to you first, right?
They go to Julie.
Julie.
Julie's employees would go to her, but this would essentially just create a framework that
I will
says,
go home early, I wanna work on Saturday.
Well, yeah, and some, daycare issues,
Understandable.
ill, different things could cause Tuesday, have to leave at noon. But then someone's better, and Saturday, I have someone to watch these kids for me, and I can still do a couple hours of work to make up for Tuesday when my kid was sick. So it does happen, there is different situations, that's just
I
an
love
example.
that, thank you for being flexible.
Mhm.
it's
Love
a
that.
twinge of flexibility
Yeah, so
without, one of the things I don't want is I don't want people, we need people in the office too. It's a balance. You can't say, hey, free reign to work 10 hours Saturday, 10 hours Sunday remotely, and by the way, I'm not gonna be here for most of the week. So it is
That would
limited,
not-
but, and there's limited
There would
applications.
be a policy of having a certain amount of people in the office at once.
Yes, we have that covered, and it's not really a
No,
policy, it's
we
more,
have that.
yeah, procedurally, I didn't want.
It is just to make sure the pay rate that we're not going against our standard policy, because right now, that would be against our policy, so the change is, that's all it entails.
It really is, it's a very simple, small change that essentially as long as we're in compliance with all legal mandates, it would allow employees with prior approval from their supervisor to flex a little bit of time into the weekend, or over a holiday. I would anticipate it being used very seldomly, and sporadically. It just happened to, what's that?
That's the plan.
Yeah, but it came up during the President's Day holiday. It's something that, hey, I'm gonna be around, I could really get a jump start on next week, I've got this work, and it's all things that need to happen, but things that you can't justify double time to do.
I like that.
So, it's just, again, it is what it is at this point.
So we trust Julie to manage all of that.
And
so-
Julie's the one that's gonna be the manager on this.
Well, it depends on.
Well, it depends on who.
Because I see the
person's-
policy would be written and clear, but Julie's the one that will give the A-OK.
Whoever,
Yeah, it's whoever their supervisor is, and it applies if you look at all non-union, non-exempt workers,
Mhm.
you gotta run through my head, they are only office employees.
Mark.
And Mark. I forget about Mark, because he's not in the union. Remote work is not made available. to
No.
Mark.
I wouldn't.
We'll just say that, he doesn't have a computer, and he
He's doing remote work. It's called laying concrete.
Yeah, I was like, he's laying concrete, but no, it,
Mostly
practically,
office.
it's going to be Julie's employees or whoever's, you know,
Right.
down the road,
Office
Julie's
manager.
gonna get to retire at some point, you know, that we're kind of think of policy as going beyond the individuals in any position, but yes, the vast majority of the time that
It's whoever their
it's
supervisor is,
It's gonna
period.
be Julie, yes.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for that overtime policy update.
So moved.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to rate 224 energy charge.
Right, so I sent all this out ahead of time, just to provide some additional opportunity to digest this one. And essentially, I'll sum it up. Everybody's seen the information, but for the public meeting, I'll kind of sum up what happened. But we were doing some review of our current rates, doing some analysis, and identified a discrepancy in the energy component of our 224 rate, which is our general service demand transformer owned. So there are 6 customers in this pool. But you know, when we did the UFS rate study last year, essentially the baseline that they use, they pulled documents and say, all right, we're going to establish our rate baseline, and then we're going to adjust off of the baseline based on a percentage. That baseline was lower than it should have been due to some miscoordination of documents, basically. Didn't get caught initially, was caught and essentially moved immediately into this meeting so that we could kind of rectify it and align the rates with the overall rate strategy that the board's approved. I want to start, I guess the other piece is, it ultimately originated through an update, the late 2022 update for 2023, and there's a bunch of components in a document. One piece didn't get updated. Want to clarify too that through the entire year of 2023, we billed the rates that were approved by the board, and we have always approved the rate, or we've billed the rates that have been approved by the board. But there was an error in the baseline of what we requested the board to approve. Again, that's kind of what happened. I think what's important for the board to understand here is, how did it happen, and what can we do to shore up our processes? Because there's been a lot of moving pieces, and I don't want to make excuses by any means, but there's been a lot of moving pieces with rates, and we followed some less than normal procedures due to some of the changes working with our billing vendor to get rates unbundled. And again, it's not an excuse by any means, but it's our understanding of how we got to the situation. But again, moving forward, I think it's important for the board to understand, moving forward, we're proposing to adjust the rate to align with the overall rate strategy that the board has approved, which would involve about a quarter of a penny increase on the KWH charge at the 224 rate. Just brings alignment to the rest of our rates and the overall rate strategy. Moving forward, we will be when we do the rate study later in 2024 for 2025 rates, we will be implementing additional procedures for baseline verification. We're going to add some additional checks and balances just to verify some additional processes. And then there will be some additional verification to ensure that all the documents that contain our rates ultimately coordinate, because there was one component of one rate that didn't coordinate across all documents. And that was, quite frankly, just an oversight, and we're just looking to rectify the situation and bring that 224 energy charge in alignment.
I have one question. Will you take this to the city?
No. We just submit all we have to do is submit rates to the city to bill.
And so then it'll be starting, if we approved it tonight, be starting tomorrow? Or how does that?
No, it would be, it's a 30-day waiting period, so it would apply to the bills produced in May.
So it'd be still another month?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Jerry, what's the financial impact of the difference between this and what you would have charged, what we would have gotten as an example? You know, is it tens of thousands? of
No,
dollars?
overall, it's about $8,000 a month. So it's not insignificant,
Right.
but it's also not going to materially impact our financial projections.
Yep, and thank you for not going after historical building.
Yes, and that was the other thing, we're not looking, we have built the rates that have been approved. It's just, quite frankly, we requested a rate to be approved that should have been a quarter penny higher.
Okay, I would, again, entertain a motion to make that correction and
So,
You gotta announce
Support.
you gotta announce who made the motion and who made the support, we gotta have official. Who's it? Oh,
right there,
all right.
spin the bottle.
Sounds like Daniel made the motion, Greg supported. We had extra support from Tina.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried. I'm glad that you brought that to us, and I'm glad that you were able to go back and determine what was the cause, what, again, finding those reasons or whatever, then minimizes future problems. Moving on, policy 6.8, line service extension, Lowell Light and Power contribution update.
Right, so the policy that's in your board, commonly referred to as just our line extension policy, is the policy that ultimately determines how much money should Light and Power contribute to it, adding additional load to our system, whether that's adding a residential service, adding a new industry, or an industry expanding and bringing on more load. So just what is the financial contribution that we ultimately should ask all of our customers to support for the overall good. So it's a balance in making sure that we don't have customers that are unnecessarily overfunding their new service, which ultimately has a contributing benefit to our overall system through rate dollar contributions or margin off the rates. But it wants to balance also not over subsidizing and just doing whatever it takes to add load to the system, because now we're creating an extended payback period. So want to highlight a couple things here. One thing is that this is not a new methodology. The board adopted this policy. Originally, it was adopted in 2009, revised in 2015, revised again in 2017. So the policy is not changing, or the methodology for determining the policy is not changing. It's just the dollars that are being updated to reflect changes in margin in the last 7 years, roughly. Go ahead.
So those updates that you're talking about, the previous, you listed 3 or 4 of them, those were just monetary things that
I don't know what was included. I know that in 2017, the UFS policy was in place. This ultimately is derived from UFS. I don't know the origin of this, but I do know the policy that sits on our books right now is the same policy that we're looking to update. For the methodology, the wording, it's just the dollars that are changing. So I don't know the full history.
okay, so, but basically though, the last time that the numbers were updated was 2017.
Yes.
Okay, but I don't see any policy that we do assess this on a regular basis, and I think we should think about maybe every 3 or 5 years that we look at this.
It needs to follow the cost of service update, which we do have a policy that says we need to update it every 5 years.
Okay.
This probably would have been done last year, but we had other rate movement, So how much rate work do you put in, how much capacity what do we spend with UFS, what capacity, what time do they have? So we could have done it last year, on coming off of that. If there was a desire to from a policy standpoint, do this, I think we look at adding some statement to the policy that says we'll update the cost of service study on a 5-year basis. Because that is a policy, and this is a byproduct of that cost of service study.
Okay.
So, and just kind of conceptually, sorry, you got a question? Go ahead.
I had two things. Can you scroll down to the new red line amounts, top of the next page, I think.
Okay.
Right there.
First is the second one, the 3 years development is 11850. You gotta take that O out of there. So it's not,
Oh, geez.
it's not, yeah, I mean,
No,
no,
it's
of these. The second one, my second question is, how come the 3 years grew to be more than the 5? Like, what changed there? Because the old one is 3 years, 592, 5 years, 933, right? And everything's getting not a doubling, but it's getting close to double. Like these numbers all kind of going, went from 1,200 to 2,200 for the first one. So why does that one invert? Like 592 gets doubled to 1185 or so. And then 933 only gets like a $120, $130 jump. Like
What that is the time. Preface this with saying, I don't want to say I think, because that sounds terrible, but what it's tied to is that 3 years is how, everything is based on a 7-year cost, well, not everything. Residential is based on a 7-year cost recovery, based on the margin. What that 3 years is it takes 3 years to fill the neighborhood, or it takes 5 years to fill the neighborhood. So you have at that 5, there's just so much. I get what you're saying. You'd think it would be proportionate, but there is less of an opportunity, obviously, in 2 years to recover money than in 4. But I get what you're saying. Is it probably? I don't have a definitive answer on exactly the mechanics. I would have to go back through the math with UFS,
I'm curious about why that doesn't. Everything else is so close to
doubling.
Yeah, doubling or just like a large chunk increase, and that one is like a 10% increase, and everything else is way over 10%.
And again, I would assume that it is tied to that.
It's not everything else, but other residential stuff. Not the general service.
So,
And I think there's also a risk adjustment that if a neighborhood is going to take 5 years to fill up, there is a lot of a window. There's a big window there. If they say this, and we don't, and quite frankly, we don't use those two numbers because the way that the developments are rolled out here, it's in annual phases. So we're able, because we only provide infrastructure on an annual basis or every couple of years, and they bite one section off at a time, they bite off about 25 homes at a time. We focus on that first number, that first number per lot. So while I should have an answer, we didn't do a deep dive into those two numbers outside of my initial assessment was that the 3 years was referring to a payback period. And I thought, well, how's the numbers seemed off. So we talked conceptually about the difference between a 3-year and the 3-year development and a 5-year development, but I don't have a specific answer to your question.
Okay. I mean, it's not like, it's not based, those aren't payback, those 3-year and 5-year?
No, that is based on this neighborhood is going to take 3 years to fill. This development, not neighborhood, this development is going to, from start to finish. So they make adjustments and assumptions based on time-weighted averages of how many homes are gonna go on first year. You get so much margin from that, how many homes, so there's a lot of moving pieces. I would have to ask UFS on exactly how they model that 3 and 5 year development to understand the relationship between why one jumped almost 50% and the other one jumped 10%.
Yeah,
So-
I'd be curious, I guess.
I can definitely
So-
follow up.
just so I have an understanding, so I'm out on, in our area, I'm out on Grand River putting a new house in. It's gonna cost me $2,218.
Other way, that is how much money we will contribute to your home. Anything over and above
So this is what
2,000
we're contributing, this is not what we're getting from them.
This is our contribution. You build a home,
Yep,
pick a place. We will, the first $2,218 that it costs us to serve that new load is what we will pay. If we can hook you up for less than $2,218, customer pays nothing.
right.
If it costs $50,000, I'm not good
Correct.
at math that way. It costs $50,000 less that to
Gotcha.
2218.
Okay,
This is our component.
all right.
Maybe pick like 2220 or something.
I was trying to come up with a number in my head that immediately was an easy number, and I should have said 22,218.
$52,218.
Charlie, that's based on if they sign a 5-year contract for this, right?
Yeah, which I'll be honest, we don't enforce the 5-year contract. There is no, it's an administrative nightmare. The thought is there is relatively no risk there's minimal risk in residential development, or in residential services. I don't think I've ever seen a house get built and not provide revenue for 7 years unless there's a catastrophe. Had a house that we were getting ready to hook up, we just hooked up a natural gas explosion, and the house fell apart. They rebuilt still. So even when there are catastrophes, there's still, the infrastructure is ultimately going to get used. So conceptually, yes, it's based on a 5-year commitment. We don't, it's not something that in practice is something that is a focus of enforcement because it doesn't happen.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I would entertain to approve policy 6.8, line service extension, Lowell Light and Power contribution update.
I'll move to approve it with the change to that $1,185 typo.
Okay,
Supported?
okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. D, I would like input. I want to get this done as quickly as possible for Charlie. One, it then makes it helps Megan with the overall planning, budget. Thank you. There's
Charlie,
for that word.
Sorry.
Yeah, I went.
It's actually 1850.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went and scrolled to see. It will be corrected.
Sorry.
It will be corrected to reflect
Okay.
the policy. I apologize. I don't know how that.
So anyway, I would really like, depending on everybody's schedule, I would really like to get this done still in April. It leaves us, I want to have, today's the 9th, I really want to have time enough to talk to the rest of the board members of what kind of form you'd like to see, what kind of thing. I would also, again, as we've done in the past, I would like to include some of our employees in this process. I would really like to look at, again, thinking of keeping it on Tuesday.
Yes.
I would like to either the 23rd or the 30th of April.
Let's do the 23rd.
I'm only saying that because May, you're gonna be running the meeting again. I'll be in Boulder to my niece's graduation then. So anyway, 23rd, does that work with everybody? I will, after we just have a slight discussion, what kind of form you'd like to see. I'm kind of into narrative forms as compared to
Write this or that.
write this, or, here's this, and you put a number 5 or 6. Again, I'm thinking more of, what do you think Charlie's assets are, and how he's performed, and more of a narrative, and we can look those. I think they're more helpful to hand those to Charlie, having a narrative, his strengths, his things that he can improve on, and that type of thing. And I really want to stick to the charter as much as possible and not have to go and do this later and retro it and that type of thing. So I guess the question is, are you available the 23rd?
I can be there for that?
Yeah,
Oh, no. Yeah, just looking, yes.
okay. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like it here, or would you like it over in the offices and over in,
Yeah, what would you like?
Wherever you all, I like meeting here personally. I
okay.
think it accomplishes what we want to.
Yep. So let's plan on the 23rd at 6:30, what would you like? Does 6 work? 6 o'clock on the 23rd for evaluation. Again, I don't know if, and Charlie can add things to that if we want to talk about the health.
I was gonna say, I could foresee 2 action items, and I'll probably request Ryan to attend if he's available. He may not be available, but I can carry his. I'd ask him to vacate, or not vacate, want him to have the opportunity to leave, because he doesn't want to stick around. I'd like to add a potential transformer order. We know Ryan's working through the details of trying to wrap up a large transformer order that will exceed my spending authority, but will ultimately be incorporated into next year's budget. And then I can imagine another priority health discussion at that point, or another insurance discussion at that point.
But the primary focus is going to be on
Yeah.
Charlie's evaluation.
Everything else we can knock out and then focus, but another transformer order will be a quick one, I'm sure. It's what we need. It's just a matter of getting the board's okay to push go.
Okay, everybody good with that?
Good with that?
Okay, that's it for action items, information items. Charlie?
All right, performance data, more of the same. Overall sales continue to trend above the previous 4 years, but that is from the C&I customers, the commercial and industrial. If you look at our industrial sales, they are far exceeding and will continue to outpace. You can see those bigger jumps starting kind of that December, January, February, March timeframe. You see that this year start to really outpace previous years. That's industrial, commercial. Again, we're seeing trends 9 months through the year at this point, so we're starting to really differentiate where we are. Commercial continuing to trend. Again, residential, if you'll scroll, Julie.
Yep.
If you'll go to residential, it's more of the same. That residential line is really starting to layer in as one of the, really the second lowest year behind FY20 on the residential. We've talked about it quite a bit. Cost per kilowatt hour, we've seen quite a bit of downward pressure on the PCA, so I think that residential spike is really due to very limited kilowatt hour sales and having fewer kilowatt hour sales to spread that customer charge over. So we're still, some of that's usage based, but overall we've seen some downward pressure on the PCA, and you can really see that in the non-residential type of rates, where residential cost per kilowatt hour is driven largely by that fixed component of the rate. I want to pause a little bit on investment and cash. Pause every month here. We continue to watch our cash grow in a healthy manner. We'll touch base during the manager's report a little bit about some things that we're eyeing for later in the year. to manage some of that cash, but that dotted line is that 140 days of cash kind of informal goal. Our policy states that we'll have 120 days of operating cash on hand, but we saw over 20 days of cash erode, and you can see, really, you see this jump right here where we were just under the 120, and then we got a major dip as our expenses really ramped up going from one fiscal year to the next. So, we don't anticipate that 120-day line moving, but we run the risk of, again, the 120 days growing and our cash being eroded if it does grow. So we want to make sure we have that healthy cushion, keeping north of 140, but as you can see, we've crept over that 140 days of cash. And again, it's just something we'll continue to monitor, and during the manager's report, I'll touch base on some of our thoughts with that. Aging analysis, I'll go to the delinquent balances. I'll move on to the next one real quick. Want to just highlight this massive spike in the delinquent balances. This is a single customer that has caused the vast majority of this, and we have
And that's a commercial customer?
Yes, it's a large commercial customer.
Would it be a certain?
I would talk offline, but
I think I know what you.
I'll share it with you.
Yeah, I know, I bet I know.
Yeah, but it's a single customer. They are, supposed to pay by Friday, Julie, they said? I don't remember what Hillary said.
Monday the 16th.
Monday the 16th. This obviously represents a significant risk to us, and we will disconnect as soon as we're eligible to disconnect with this customer, because we don't want to continue to grow the liability.
Tuesday, 16th, sorry.
Tuesday, all right. So, wanted to just highlight that, because that's obviously, that's a big jump on that delinquent balance. That's significant, so. Oh, where's my mouse? There it is. I'm looking at the wrong one.
They've been told several times, so we're anticipating a payment.
Yes, we're anticipating payment. They've indicated, we've worked with this customer, I've gotten involved a little bit. We've quite a few people that are routinely monitoring this and this customer and working with this customer. Other than that, I'll highlight the PCA revenue again. PCA, I do want to highlight that PCA number has hit the lowest point we've seen since really implementing this updated policy and updated calculation methodology. So that's a good thing. That ultimately translates to rate relief, or to bill relief to our end customers, because while we don't get to keep any of this money, this is just to recover our power supply. It is a bill component, and it does impact customer bills.
Does it change when we're billing monthly, or does it change quarterly, or?
It's a monthly change based on a 6-month look back, a rolling 6-month look back, but there's a 2-month delay in getting all the information. So it really is, it's 6 months, but there's a 2-month lag, but it does get updated on a monthly basis. And that's, I'll say, happy to answer any questions on any performance data. Again, we're 9 months into the fiscal year at this point, so it's a lot of just trends at this point in highlighting discrepancies or movement. So happy to answer any questions. Hearing none, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan for the monthly outage report, and then I'll go ahead and ask Ryan to touch on the accident update from last month. We'll hand the floor over to him.
Only one outage this past month caused by a squirrel in the area, G Drive and Foreman, so kind of a bummer. We would have had a perfect month if it wasn't for a squirrel. Although, I mean, we're still pretty almost 100% available.
I'll get him next time.
Yeah.
Was
Make sure someone's not around and you got it.
Was that, we have not talked about this, but I'm assuming that pole was not critter guarded?
No,
So-
that one wasn't.
I'm saying, I think to this point, we've not had a repeat outage on a location that had been critter protected.
Only one time, but that was because the trees needed to be trimmed better, and he got access above the critter guard stuff because of the trees, so. Other than that, we haven't had a repeat customer on an animal guarded pole, so that stuff is working. As far as the accident that we had with the hydraulic tamp hose failing and squirting oil all over Raleigh, and he kind of vaporized the oil and he breathed some in and squirted in his mouth. I mean, it was not an ideal situation. You know, everything that we do, bucket trucks, digger trucks, the mini excavator, I mean, everything is hydraulic based. I mean, almost everything has hydraulic stuff on it and operates off a hydraulic system. They typically run 2,000 to 3,000 PSI. The hydraulic system on that digger truck is 2,500 pounds, just under 2,500. So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on them hoses, and those particular hoses that directly hook up to the tamper are basically a high wear item, and they should be replaced a little more frequently than these ones were. So we're going to definitely implement some sort of a plan in the next couple of days to, you know, log that tool into our Maintain X, set a time, whether it's 2 or 3 years, to just, no matter what they look like, we're just going to change them out. They're not that expensive, and just for the insurance policy of making sure that we don't have this happen again, it's the best thing to do. We don't hardly have any other handheld hydraulic tools on our trucks. We specifically ordered the service truck bucket level where the guys ride in the bucket. Typically bucket trucks have a hydraulic tool circuit right up on the bucket, right near where the guys work, because there's all kinds of hydraulic type tools that you plug into those circuits and use. But with today's technology of cordless tools, we actually ordered the service truck to not even have the tool circuit anywhere plumbed into the boom. We don't need it. We have, I mean, you have handheld cordless presses, drills, impacts, everything you could imagine is far superior and less dangerous than hydraulic systems. So we've eliminated as much as we can on those type of tools. We still will have the tamp around for the foreseeable future because it is the best tool to tamp the dirt in when you set a pole. You have to use that to, if you don't tamp the dirt around the pole's just going to tip over, and everybody's going to be looking at us like, what are you guys doing? The poles are all lean and not straight. So that tool is going to stay around, but we'll just we'll be more vigilant with changing the hoses out or keeping an eye on the condition. We do have the hose that failed right back here on the table if somebody would like to take a look at it so they can understand the situation. I mean, I could pass it around if you want, but it's way worn out. The outer jacket off the steel sheath where that holds back the pressure is definitely worn off, and we should have just changed it out a while ago, but it is what it is now, and thankfully he didn't get hurt too bad, and things are fixed, and we're moving on.
Ryan, is it possible to think about a face shield that might have stopped it from splattering up? I mean, I seen it when you were out working a chainsaw sometime from debris, so I don't know if that's something that consider, or it was just a one-time freak thing and that's what
Just
it
given the
is.
frequency of how those will fail, I don't think that would be something that we would need to use. It's just not gonna happen. I mean, to squirt just like it did to have him breathe it in and get it in his mouth.
Right.
I mean, I've seen a lot of hoses blow over the time that I've been in line work, and I've never seen anybody breathe it in or get it in their mouth, ever. And this is the first, I mean, stuff happens, weird stuff happens, and you can't have workers running around in a bubble suit trying to get things done, because you just can't protect everything or every scenario.
Or you did the safety class on.
Definitely had those on,
Anyways.
but, you know, they're subject to stuff squirting under them depending on the angle of your head and your face. I mean, it could, but yeah,
But
he
it still helps, right?
didn't get it in his eyes, and so that was a good thing. And
Have you assessed all of the other hydraulically run things, or do you have a schedule for all of the other hydraulically run
That's the
things?
only tool that we handle with our hands that is hooked up to hydraulic hoses.
Okay,
We have a pole jack that jacks poles out of the ground, but typically you set that up, you rig it up on the pole, and you stand back and turn it on from the truck, and you're not, you
so
don't
this
have your hands on it.
broke in that feed line to,
Yeah, you
That.
guys, right where that hose broke, you're holding onto that thing, doing the duty with the tamper, so it's like right there.
Oh.
I mean, it's at that height where it's
Yeah.
right near your face, and as you work your way up.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking in terms of the other hydraulic things that are in place on trucks, you know,
Yep.
that kind of thing. Is there a schedule with which they are replaced or
We're going
assessed
to make a schedule for the replacement of these particular hoses, yes.
for the, okay, but I'm saying the ones that are just in place on equipment.
Well, I
You
mean,
know, How often have
you
have
change
any
out
of those
hoses
failed?
when they typically, when they fail.
Okay.
I mean, on a bucket truck, if you have a hose blow in the boom or in the turret somewhere or to an outrigger, when it fails and it squirts oil all over the ground and makes a mess, that's when you fix it.
Okay,
Unless
so you don't do any preventative,
Yeah.
I mean,
replacement.
typically you don't need to, unless you find a hose somewhere on the truck when you're doing an inspection that's been rubbing on a location where it goes around a piece of a frame or something, you're like, holy cow, that's been rubbing like that, and didn't even notice it, and it looks like it's about to fail, then you could proactively do it, but
gotcha. So how often do the inspections happen?
annually.
Well, and daily.
And daily.
There's pre-trip, post-trip DOT inspections on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they go through
Pre-use inspection on a daily.
they go through a more exhaustive inspection on an annual basis.
So, do you have the equipment to put the ends on, or do you send it out to?
We,
Buy per
these
lane.
particular ones, we don't source them locally because I'm not comfortable with the hose making capabilities of local companies, so we go to the Bond Fluid Air Parker store on 36th and Kalamazoo, no, not Kalamazoo, it's 36th Street, right by the airport. We definitely make good hoses there, and I would feel more comfortable with their quality of hose making skills versus anybody around here, because if you looked at the hydraulic hose making areas in our local parts stores, no, we're just not gonna do that.
Well, I didn't know if like D&D or, you know.
They have the stuff, but no.
That's fine, I'm just
No.
asking.
I'm not comfortable with it. I mean, the general hose.
I didn't know if we, Light and Power, had.
No,
Yeah.
we won't need that
Shop
stuff.
at our.
We don't go through them very frequently enough to do that.
Okay.
The best.
Appreciate the update, Ryan. I did want to follow up last month, but you
Thank
provided a brief update, let everybody know what had happened and wanted to follow back up, but we identified the problem, identified solutions to make sure it doesn't happen again, and we really wanted to understand there are elements of it that are just unfortunate, but there's steps that we can take to not put ourselves in a position that something unfortunate could happen. So Ryan says it a lot. We focus on positioning ourselves for future success, and that's exactly what he's doing with proactive moves to cycle the tampers, cycle the hydraulic hoses, and be a little more proactive on getting that replaced, or treating it more like a consumable.
And our tree truck and our main bucket trucks, they have tool circuits, hydraulic tool circuits with fittings. The fittings are definitely a high wear item. They leak all the time when you actually use them. But we went through every one of our trucks and we've completely removed those fittings because they kind of stick out like a sore thumb and they're easy to bump into something and then it could break it off and then, oh, there you go, you have a hydraulic leak. So we've taken all those fittings off and we've capped them as short as possible with the proper, fittings to cap the lines so that we don't have any issues with them. They have to remain there for other functions on the truck. The hydraulic system needs to be there, but at least the fittings are missing and completely capped to where they're as safe as possible. Because not only could you have an issue with hydraulic oil squirting around and getting on the worker, imagine hydraulic oil leaking and then the bucket truck doing something to cause some sort of an arc or a flash and then the leaking hydraulic oil catches on fire. That would be horrible. So that's why we've capped them off and done the best that we can to keep it as safe as possible up there.
Bravo.
Thank you, Ryan.
Good job, thank you.
I lost my agenda. All right, we will roll on to the income statement. So in your board packets, the condensed income statement, the full income statement is down in the supplemental information. Again, we're 9 months in at this point, and it's more of the same. Our sales continue to trend slightly behind, but our purchase power expenses down, significantly. Everything else runs fairly in line with things coming in under budget for the most part, but there's certain items and certain expenses that fluctuate. But again, we ended up with a net income of just over $106,000 last month, bringing our net income to just under $1 million so far for this year. We'll touch base a little bit on that, but that's a byproduct of the rates that we put in place to recover cash and set up a longer-term trajectory that would be stable. So definitely expected elevated income this year, but some of the other pieces have grown that net income just a little bit. But we will continue to take any proceeds, invest them in the system, invest them in long-term returns, and whether that's pension, equipment replacement, expanded capital budget, but yes, that's the income statement at this point, and I'd be happy to answer any questions on this one or the detailed one, but the biggest items are the sales and the purchase power expense, and everything else is much smaller in scale and scope. Good.
For some reason, mine isn't moving, so I'm gonna disconnect.
Well, because you're down to,
See a little
you're
bit.
down to only 7% left in battery.
You might be right.
Well, we'll keep moving on. Capital budget, you'll see some current month, we have quite a bit of movement. In the capital budget, we've had some IT expenses, some capital equipment's come in. Continue to make our monthly contribution to vehicle replacement fund.
Battery saver on.
But where you'll notice big is system expansion budget. We've started hitting, materials started coming in for Harvest Meadows, Stony Bluff, it's been coming in. Ryan mentioned it last month, it's piling up. We paid for it last month, so now it's reflected here. You'll also notice the minor cap project, we've got some growth there. A lot of that is tied to the work that's being done at the fairgrounds right now.
So I'm just curious, what is that? And did you pull,
We've got some pictures.
Yeah.
There's some pictures that we
Okay.
talk a little bit, it's not much, but it'll give a little bit.
did we go across the river?
Yep.
Yes. Well, so Ryan touches on it in his distribution
Okay.
report, but we're gonna talk, there's no we in it, I didn't do anything. The proverbial we, they replaced the two structures the 8 structures on each side of the river. There used to be 2 pole structures with like a big 4x4 cross member. Again, there's pictures in here that will highlight some of that, but replace that. When we did it, that's a main tie line to connect the new circuit on the south of the river. North of the river is the feed that feeds King Milling, so that is an important tie line to provide a redundant feed to King Milling. And the conductor for one, the poles needed to be replaced, but the conductor was a smaller conductor and was essentially a weak link in that tie line. So we needed to replace all that conductor, replace the poles ultimately. Started with just the river crossing. As they were out there, they had it all isolated, and Ryan convinced me pretty easily that if we heat that back up, a pole is going to fall. That's just how the world works, and it's going to cause an outage for King Milling. So if it didn't happen immediately, there was an outage pending for King Milling right there. But yeah, started with just a river crossing, had some available funds in the capital budget to go ahead and take out, I think it was another 6 poles, Ryan?
Yep.
So we said another 6 poles through there, and they just about buttoned it up today probably, but
And they're much taller poles.
yes, they're
Slightly taller, yeah.
taller, beefier, newer, don't have giant holes in the middle of them where they're rotten. Yeah, good like that. But starting to see some movement there. Manager's report, again, we had a busy month at MPPA, please read, I won't regurgitate what's there. I want to go ahead and fast forward to Ryan's report, equipment update. I asked Ryan to park, we bought a new trailer last month, not a huge expense, but it is a monumental improvement in our equipment. But the Mini X had a more outdated trailer. New Mini X sitting on an old Ditch Witch trailer from the old trencher. Just was not designed for what we did. Ryan found a great deal online. The money was allocated, equipment replacement fund was scheduled for this year. We pulled the trigger and
Rock on.
it's a great little tilt bed.
Is there some here?
But yeah, I asked Ryan to park it in the hall as you're leaving. If you want to take a look, he's got the trailer with the Mini X on it, and then he also pulled the wire puller in to check that out. Did they use that for pulling any conductor at the fairgrounds?
Yeah.
That's what I assumed. I think that was the second time technically we used it. I know Mark used it out at the primary care resource or care resources. Right? But I asked again, I'd encourage everybody after the meeting, go wander through and really look at really want to highlight the trailer and what they do to help protect the longevity. We got a brand new trailer and immediately they're adding things to improve, identified high wear locations on the trailer and put, metal plating down, and they did a good job. So just wanted to highlight that and talk a little, just bring that to everybody's attention, encourage everybody to go take a look. Moving on, some of the highlight in Casey's report. Maybe Casey was not able to make it tonight, but also some movement back here. If you take a look, they're blocking in the 2 overhead doors that cause all kinds of problems back there for Casey. That is in progress, so that's moving along pretty nicely. They just started and they will block it up, demo out the doors, and then Casey and Tom are going to seal the block and paint that.
Any kind of murals or anything,
White.
White?
It's going to be Michigan in January.
Okay.
Not this January. But moving on, I want to highlight the safety update. We had another meeting with Mecca over in Portland, and it was a really good training session. It was really interactive. We got to build towers out of. Sorry.
When was that? Was it last week at all? Because there's
Wouldn't
$1
have been
million lotto ticket that was sold in Portland,
Oh man.
Oregon,
Portland, Oregon?
yes. Oh, a million, I thought you said the 1.3
No,
billion.
million. I was in Portland, Michigan.
Oh, good.
No, this was a couple weeks ago, but
Yeah.
But it was another good week. It was a good example of us all coming together as a big group activities, a lot of learning from others, working with others. Just it was a positive meeting. I want to highlight the line worker appreciation events. I believe calendar invites have been sent out to all board members, but Councilmember Chambers is taking charge again of organizing the annual line workers appreciation event. It'll be held Saturday, April 27th at New Union. Next Thursday, I believe. Yes, the 18th, we're going to have a breakfast down here at 8 a.m. That's, I believe, is on actual Line Worker Appreciation Day. So we're going to do a little breakfast here for everybody. We like to take the opportunity to recognize all the great staff that we have at Light and Power. I know it's a line worker appreciation, and that's an important thing to recognize, but we go a little further and recognize all of our employees. happy to touch on anything specific that anybody wants to, but I wanted to roll on to Q, the MPPA stakeholder meeting, last chance, last call. I have you registered and can cancel it if you need.
RP3 update was on there.
Oh, that passed.
Board meeting. Yeah, it's like.
Oh, I do have a mild update. I expressed some frustration with the process and the feedback that we got from APPA because they initially denied our request for reconsideration and told us that we didn't submit something that was never asked. Sorry, go ahead.
So, for the camera and for everybody, so we did receive the RP3 award, we just didn't receive originally the highest
Yes.
RP3.
So, take one step even further back. RP3 has 3 designations, gold, platinum, and diamond. Diamond is a very thin threshold. It's a 100-point grading scale. To get a diamond, you have to have a 98, 99, or 100. You'll lose 2 points. There's one question that we were contending, we lost 3 points from one question, which bumped us to that platinum level, which is still something to be very proud of, obviously. But I didn't agree with the assessment. If we would have lost the diamond based on something that we truly needed to grow into or needed to make material changes to, but I think they just didn't understand the work that we were doing with Casey, with Ryan, and how we brought and taken ownership of some of our planning efforts. And
They were looking for an outside consultant engineer to evaluate.
I think that's it.
And we have on board staff and don't need to hire. I mean, with Ryan's expertise and Casey's an engineer, we don't need that. And so, they didn't ask questions about that.
And we will probably do an outsourced system study because Casey and Ryan have the ability to build one from the ground up, but they have a lot on their plate. We just don't need to update an outsourced one as frequently as they say. We have the ability to bridge the gap and to update relevant sections and to adapt quicker and make adjustments much faster. So yeah, I think they were looking for an outsourced report because I don't think, it's my opinion, but I think my assessment is they thought a utility of our size couldn't do what we said we did. I don't know. No, there was never an indication of that, but they never once acknowledged our internal efforts through everything. So initially got a denial basically of our request for reconsideration, and I wrote another email just expressing frustration over the process. The outcome is the outcome, we can accept that, but the process didn't align with the process and the quality of feedback. There was no feedback, and this is a benchmarking tool, so if you don't get feedback on where you fall short of benchmarking, then you don't know how to use it as a tool to grow. And I was looking for meaningful feedback, they didn't ever supply it. Then the justification for denying the request was they said that we didn't ever produce any outcomes derived from our internal analysis, i.e. board actions that were taken after, but they never asked for it. So we could easily come here and I'd go through board packets and but they just never asked for it. So I kind of expressed some significant frustration and was last Friday, I believe, yes, last Friday, maybe the Friday before, received notification that we had brought some challenges to light that they were not aware of, and that we absolutely should have received the additional points, and we will be keeping our diamond designation.
Well, fantastic.
So I thought that what I appreciate is,
Squeaky wheel.
I hate that. I'll be honest, the squeaky wheel should not get the grease, but I believe we were right, principally, on this one, so I fought for it.
Depends on why the wheel's squeaky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boom. I think that's a better way of putting it. But I don't think it should take a
No.
squeaky wheel to get for people. I don't want to bash the program because I know that's a lot of people evaluating. It's a tough It's a tough process. There's 90-some utilities that receive designations this go around. There's 200+ utilities nationwide with the designation. So it's a heavy lift.
I mean, it sounds like they're taking another look at their processes because of this, and
Yes.
that's pretty cool.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
That would have been the thing. I said, dang it. I just stopped to make sure I got that one out though. Yeah, the MPPA stakeholder meeting, last day to register is Friday, so if you're going to be able to make it, please let me know. We have, I believe, last MPPA board meeting, I was told we were in the pole position. We have more representatives coming than any other utility.
Still good. Still
You are?
good. Yeah.
We're 20 minutes down the road too, so it really is a quality, it's a really good thing.
So I'll try to keep,
Some
I'll
nice
try to keep it
little, some
over.
nice little freebies, like the lantern or.
Yeah.
Pens,
So the other thing is R,
pads, paper. One of those valued things.
I'll get you an umbrella.
solar powered.
All kinds of paper and pens. That's all around.
Eagle papers. But moving on to R, I wanted to touch base, I've talked to Daniel a little bit about this, but as we've seen some of our cash levels grow, ultimately that could flow into the capital budget. As our cash grows, that's ultimately what our annual cash, that's what funds our capital budget on an annual basis. And there's a certain capacity we have, we gotta find a lot of balances. We can't, we don't wanna watch our capital budget grow to something that we can't handle in-house for work that should be done in-house. We wanna bring in contractors to do the work that contractors need to do. So, we don't necessarily just want that money to flow into cash growth and just watch it continue to grow. We wanna make sure we get to a certain level, and then we're reinvesting that money into something that brings long-term value to our customers or our system. With that is slightly expanded capital budget. If you'll recall, we've tried to expand with UFS. We've modeled expanding our capital budget from about $1 million a year to $1.25 million. So we'll see some cash growth there. Cash growth that needed to support that additional, or cash inflow that's needed to support that extra $250,000 a year. So we've seen we'll see some reinvestment into the distribution system, into the assets that serve our customers. But the other things that we are looking at is, potentially, before the end of the fiscal year, making a larger one-time contribution to either our MERS surplus division, our equipment replacement fund, or both, or split it between the two. Just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. We're going to be, Megan and I and Julie will get together and be reviewing some of these things over the next couple months, but any move that we would make would fall outside of our budget, so I would request board authorization to make a one-time large contribution to MERS or anything like that. So just preface to say, hey, this is going to be coming down the pike, I would imagine, and we just want to make sure that we're prudently managing our cash and that we're not just sitting on it. We're making sure we reinvest in things that actually provide value to our customers. But we know that our MERS pension liability has been a major focal point of a long-term goal. We know that from an equipment replacement standpoint, we purchased the new truck last month, and we know that from a timing standpoint, there's a potential that they come in the same fiscal year, so there may be some advantages to advance funding some of the equipment replacement fund. Again, we will, more than anything, just want to share with the board that it's on our radar, and I would like to put it on your radar because there's a high likelihood that we continue this conversation either next month or in June, probably more likely to move it to June, just to make that transaction and have as much of the year in focus as we can and make that transaction or transactions prior to the end of the fiscal year, but with as much information, financial information for the fiscal year as we can possibly have. Any questions about that? I want to pause on just a minute. Easy enough. All right. Let's keep pausing. Want to touch base on the APPA National Conference. I am, oh, no.
I usually went through it.
Hey, we're still here, by the way, Charlie.
George Casino?
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
All in favor
Is there a
of-
quarter in there?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your safety modules. I got some things for you to reference to.
Mineral. I bet there's something on mineral.
Oh,
That's fantastic. APPA National Conference is going to be held in San Diego, June 10th through the 12th. I was not planning on going, but I think I need to. No, I was,
it looks like you used it. Are you gonna do a Zoom?
I'm going to not do a present Zoom, but I was, I don't remember who it was from APPA reached out to me and asked if I would present on strategies for improving customer satisfaction on the heels of our customer satisfaction award. Basically said we'd love for one of the two to get the highest award in the inaugural year to just share. I'll be presenting with the, as it says in here, I'll be presenting with the CEO of Great Blue Research, who's the company that APPA is partnered with that actually does the surveys. So should be entertaining, but if anybody has any interest in potentially attending the national conference, registration is open. Please let me know. Perry and I talked a little bit about it.
What's the deadline?
What's that?
What's the deadline?
I'm not positive.
Okay.
I've not seen a deadline yet. I think early registration wraps up in middle of May, I believe, for some of that number. I can get you detailed
I
information.
think I might want to go.
Someone has to call Charlie, right?
Yeah, that's
I would go if.
So with that,
Well, I would say there's more. Are you going to get into the board meeting yet? All right.
so along with that, I've wasn't thinking of it at first, but now I am thinking of attending, because again, I was not wanting to change our board meeting, which is the 11th in June. The other, because I think it's important to have consistency. The other and Charlie was saying, oh, I could do it probably Zoom and this and that, and I said, you know, my feelings are that Julie could stand in for Charlie, you know, different things. But now that I'm looking at this calendar, and the other, to move that, Charlie is then, has got a scheduled vacation the following week. So he's not available the 18th either.
Which I wouldn't.
Which,
I planned that way, but that vacation's been planned for about a year.
right, and that's, you're not gonna
I'm
change
not gonna
it.
tell your wife you're not gonna make it.
So, and I don't know what this, here's my, I think we would not get a lot of reporting and everything, but if we moved it to the 4th, at least any decisions that we need, if there was decisions that we need to vote on and different things, we could do that. But again, we've got some time to figure it out. But again, those are some of the challenges that we're looking at.
Yeah, and as far as reporting, there would be, I can't speak, Megan produces a lot. I think there would.
Probably be none.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance there's no capital plan update, there's no income statement at that time. Informational items.
Statements don't come out till Monday.
Yeah, we won't have performance data at that point. She might be able to
It'll
pull
be a short
performance.
meeting.
Yeah, but it's all informational items. We have an opportunity to make those decisions.
We got a couple months.
Yeah, but didn't want to put on everybody's radar, and
We got the insurance decision to make.
That's in May.
hopefully that's done by June. We're in big trouble if it's not.
Right?
We gotta have open,
Enrollment.
yeah, we gotta have open enrollment done by June 10th.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I want to provide a staffing update. always awkward to talk about somebody while in the room, but Ryan chime in wherever you'd like. But obviously Ryan earlier this year had talked about retiring and potentially transitioning into a different looking employment, and he's landed on, and we've worked out working moving to about 20 hours a week, essentially half-time in his position. Happy to accommodate that. Any chance we can get to pick his brain and have his leadership here, we're going to take
Heck,
it.
yeah.
But it obviously is the start of a transition. It's actually closer to the middle of the transition than the start. So wanted to share some staffing updates. We have posted, and it's actually closed, an internal position for a transitional operation, basically a transitional operations manager. Somebody that would essentially wear 3 hats. They would be working with Ryan when he's here some to essentially shadow and understand and have Ryan teach. They would serve in a leadership role during the 20 hours that Ryan was not working, in conjunction with Ryan. I know he's very much available, but has things he's got to do, obviously, and he's transitioning into retirement, so we're going to let him enjoy it. And then the third role is we still have a ton of work that needs to happen over the next year and a half, and that person will need to be boots on the ground leadership as well. So it's going to be a tough role to fill, but we have some interested parties, and I think that it offers us the opportunity to focus on culture more than anything and not disrupt culture, because anytime you introduce new blood somewhere at the top of the totem pole, they're going to have their way, they're going to have their things, and I know there's other ways of doing it, but I've watched the progress that's been made through Ryan's leadership, and I see the attitude that the guys have. I shouldn't say the guys, but I see the attitude that is from the crews here, and it's very positive. They're a really great team, and that wasn't necessarily the case all the time. When I first got here, we still didn't have nearly the cohesiveness in the team that we have now. But Ryan has done a heck of a job building the culture, and that's our focal point. And I think that the crews that operate out of here appreciate a focus on culture more than anything. We want to go ahead and identify this person, because we also have potential retirements coming up in the coming years, short year window, year, 2 years, 3 years. And we've included in the budget, and we'll look to place an ad or start the search for a journeyman line worker, which is going to be a challenge. Just to find, again, I already talked a little bit about culture, is finding the right person. Just because you have the right skill set doesn't mean you're right for Lowell and Power, doesn't mean you represent this community well, it doesn't mean you won't be divisive, or we just want to have a cohesive team. So we are committed to filling that position over whatever time it takes to fill. We're not going to put a deadline on it. It's going to be an open, job will be open until filled. But that I'll continue to provide updates, and any official announcements, obviously the board will be made aware of and be in the loop. But wanted to share some of our thought process along the way with how we're going to go about some transitions, and how we're going to make sure everybody keeps doing things the way Ryan's taught them how to do it the right way. So just an opportunity to continue to leverage his leadership and his experience and everything that makes Ryan great at his job for a little bit longer, and happy to figure that one out and start to see some clarity to that situation. Ryan, we'll put you on the spot with some of these pictures, I'm sure. But there's a whole bunch of pictures. That first one is the river crossing. I don't know if there's anything you want to add there, Ryan, but
You can pretty much tell that the cross arms they've probably used, they've fulfilled their duties for us. They needed to be replaced. I mean, cross that bridge pretty much every day to come here to work, or the days that I do come in. Sometimes I go around and go across Jackson Street, but you take a look at those on a daily basis and see them sagging and bowing, and they're old, and when you get up there and take a look at things like that, they always look way worse when you actually are right up there, when they look the way they do from the ground. So it was needed. And H-type structures, unless you got a 1,000-foot span, you don't really need H-type structures for that kind of a crossing, so we opted for a single pole, heavy construction, glass arm with 2 phases on it, and then center phase is slightly higher on the pole so that it gives you a bigger spacing, and then when it gets hit by a big wind gust, it doesn't tend to flop phases together that way because there's more spacing. And it's guided in multiple different directions, multiple angles, so the guy wires themselves hold the pole straight forever, and that's a big thing. I mean, you don't set a pole, have it brand new, and a year from now it's leaning one way because it just isn't supported properly, or it didn't get tamped correctly or something like that. So that's the choice that we made out there. We wanted them to last forever, or at least 50 years.
And at the same time, the conductor was pulled in, it's now a full capacity redundant feed to come back into town, and ultimately provides a secondary feed to King Billy. So, and it's an opportunity to work something completely dead, so great training opportunity for an apprentice. I was really happy to see Riley up on a pole like that, because you don't get it, it's not every day you get the opportunity to work off the hooks and do that. So, and under normal circumstances, he wouldn't be,
Leaning out.
that's how
That's
you work.
saying, doing that kind of work, but he wouldn't be up there on a pole like that.
If
It
it-
wouldn't work.
If it was live.
It just can't be because it's energized. It's, the voltage of our primary system, you don't work that off a pole ever. It's too high
Yeah.
voltage.
Yeah, and it's his opportunity, so it's an opportunity to work off, to create a safe situation and work off a pole like that. Also, participated in the career day at the high school. This was the first time we've ever participated in this, so.
I love that.
I've mentioned on numerous occasions that, I think it's important to find certain touch points for youth as they progress through school, and the biggest gap that we've had has been in the high school arena. We touch base with first graders. We touch base with pre-school age kids through Safety Town, touch base with first graders, touch base with fourth graders. We catch them along the way, but we have this big gap leading into a potential career decision. So I think this was really good, and I want to, talk about a team effort. Obviously, Riley and Zach were the ones there, but Lisa and Emily came together, worked with Ryan, worked with everybody to produce some materials, and I'm always really impressed with the materials that they pull together. It always looks very professional. It doesn't look like I would have done it on Microsoft PowerPoint or with
It looks
Sweet.
like it was well attended too.
Yeah, their session, they got lots of really good feedback about their content. And they were very honest, they were, it went really well. And I want to give credit to Zach and Riley, they jumped all over doing it, I think. I know Zach loves doing that stuff and is a really good leader from a outreach standpoint, so really thought that was a great place to be. Want to highlight training at the Energy Center just briefly. Again, one of the things that we talked about when we adjusted our office hours was the opportunity to leverage some training opportunities. These poles are still out here. If you're going to look at the trailer, turn around, look at the poles. There's 2 of them up there. Ryan pulled this one together. For one, what awesome training materials that they built. But this is kind of an older way of doing the older construction methods. There's another pole that shows all the newer construction methods with polymer insulators and polymer cutouts versus a porcelain cutout. And it was a really good training opportunity. It was something that we couldn't do or would have been very challenging to do before we made the schedule change. So taking advantage of that, rolled that into a additional training where Casey came in here and reviewed, the fuse coordination stuff that we reviewed at the last board meeting. So I think I tell the office staff sometimes they have one of the most challenging positions in the utility because they don't work out in the field. They don't deal with all the terminology, all the things that we do, but they're expected to be the gatekeeper between the utility and the customer. And the more we can, take advantage of training opportunities to help educate them, the more it equips them to deal with conversations with the customers. And I don't never heard any specific feedback from anybody, but everybody was very engaged, there's tons of questions. It just was a really good use of a morning.
Let's do it very early in the morning, because if you notice that, I'll put the next picture up.
It was Casey was doing it at 9:29 in the morning.
Oh, the picture above on the left side, every single person in that lineup has coffee in their hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was one. I have coffee in my hand most of the time.
It might be a,
And
it
those
might be a
four people are
kickstart.
coffee.
I need a kickstart. Very have a kickstart.
Pour in the coffee mug.
Saw that lineup, I was like, boy, every single one of them in there.
Yes.
I believe like that.
To keep them awake, we provide them with coffee.
It's hard to touch something you're not supposed to touch if you have one hand in your pocket and the other holding a coffee mug. The guys don't slap my hand for. No. And then piggybacked off of that, took another morning, things that we just don't get the opportunity to do. Ryan took the entire office staff and they just did a ride along. I've not heard a ton of details, so I don't know if you want to speak a couple minutes on what you guys saw and what.
We started right at the beginning of where the system taps onto the grid and chased it all the way back into the substation, right into the control house, and then just went around to other key areas around our system to try to show them as much as I could. They asked a lot of questions. It was pretty neat. I think we could have kept doing it for hours and hours, but we had a certain amount of time that we had to stick to and get back to the office, so I haven't really heard any other feedback from the ones that went along, and no more questions came about, so I think they got a lot out of it.
They did say they did.
I asked a little bit and said, hey, how'd it go? And they said it was great, so I didn't get
Yeah.
any necessary details. But again, these are things that weren't made, we couldn't do these when the office staff was expected to be in the office. And Ryan can't be expected to do it 2 or 3 different times, so we're just taking advantage of training opportunities, rounding out knowledge bases, and I thought it was a really good,
Very cool.
and then,
Any plans to do the reverse? And kind of hit it through her, this is what it's like to.
we talked about components and pieces of, peeking on, payroll was one of the things that we talked about, because it touches everybody, but not everybody really interacts with it, so, more to come.
Okay. That'd be beneficial too.
Yeah, absolutely. Perspective, gives perspective, and that's important. Also, busy month, we're at the expo was great. It's always a good opportunity, and Lisa does a great job pulling all that stuff together, and Tony's always quick to volunteer to help, so
Yeah.
Tony does a great job. And then I added these polls. Oh yeah, you sent them with your stuff. The last picture is talking about, these are the polls going, this is some pictures going through the fairgrounds that you talked about, so I don't remember the specific question, but I know you mentioned, but yeah, all the poles through the fairground were replaced, and I thought this highlights Ryan's experience and expertise. I've never seen this done, and I'm not sure any of the crew have ever seen this done.
No, they weren't gonna do it this way. but-
Okay.
So there's 2 angle poles in that line, and when you you stake a line, all your straight line tangent poles are all right in a nice straight line. I mean, you stand there and you look down the line, you can see one pole because everything's lined up. And if you throw an angle pole into it right at the center of the angle, like a tangent pole, you can just set it on one side or the other of the pole and it's still going to be right in line, but where do you do that with an angle? If you put it on one side or in front or in back, you're going to change the angle of that position and it's going to throw everything off. So essentially you need the new pole to go exactly where the old one is. So I showed them how you just cut the old pole off and then scooch it over with a backhoe, remove most of the guy wires so that it does it a little bit easier, and everything's de-energized anyways out in that particular spot because we had the luxury of that. But and then just scooch it over with the backhoe, set it down on blocks of wood at the same height. That short little cut-off piece that you see there is the pole butt that they need to pull out, then redig the hole so it'll accommodate the new larger pole and put it in the same exact spot so everything stays lined up. That way it doesn't throw your trajectory of your line off, and it just keeps it nice and neat. And they had a good plan on how they were going to do it, but it would have taken a lot longer. It would have been a lot more work. And when they went out to do it the one day, I explained to them, "Why don't you just do it like this?" And walked them through how to do it here at the shop. Didn't go out and hold their hands or watch what they were doing because they felt pretty comfortable with it. And they did exactly what I explained to them, and the result was they learned something that day, and they really liked it, and it's good knowledge for them to move on with.
They have another tool in their tool belt
Yeah.
that they didn't have 2 weeks ago. It's awesome. So,
who put the backgrounds in these photos?
Emily
It's just really
does,
cool.
so
It's,
every
you wouldn't
picture,
think much about it until you saw it, and you're like, wow, this is even cooler now, these photos. It's like
that's
a
why,
mini presentation.
She does amazing work.
yeah, she really does. And that's, I had a bunch of pictures and was like, hey, can you, did it last month. I was like, hey, we got some neat things. What can you do? My creativity is boom, boom, boom. There's one picture, scroll, there's another, scroll, there's another. She does a much better job of pulling that together. So yeah, and I would like to continue to do this on a monthly basis instead of just me slapping some pictures in there, provide a little more context, provide a little more organization to some of the pictures. So
Yeah, and the school stuff that was showing up above too, that was her as well.
everything, yeah. If it looks good,
It looks cool, that's hers.
yeah, more than likely. Like the stuff that they pulled together for the career day, not these per se, these were Lisa, but the bill insert this month has some giveaways and stuff. One of them was these, if anybody would like some birthday celebration, wildflowers on recycled paper. But any of those bill inserts, things like that. No, that one might have actually been Lisa, wasn't it?
This one was.
That one was Lisa, I
Yeah, this
stand
one was
corrected.
Lisa, but
Most of them come from Emily. We have 2 people that are very skilled in that.
Yes.
In that, it's a program called Canva.
we're very lucky.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Does a lot of
That's
things.
fun use.
Yeah.
They pull amazing stuff together. Looks professional and it's done in house, which is awesome. But it costs a third of that. Well, 10% maybe. Who knows what it costs to not have to pay a marketing firm to generate some of that stuff. That's everything I had, Chairman.
Okay. In your packet, schedule of meetings. Next one is May 14th.
Or
Or
April 23rd, right?
April 23rd.
Or, yeah, our special,
Oh,
April
well.
I was
23rd.
saying, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't register, don't worry, it still didn't register.
Board comment, Daniel.
All good. Ain't nothing.
Okay, Tina.
Great discussion with the insurance. Like I said, domestic partner is an important tool that I've seen a trend at Blue Cross Blue Shield for getting new employees and for retaining employees. Secondly, I would like, and I don't know if you ever thrown that out there, I'd like an organizational chart of low light power.
I can send you one of those. We produce one every 3 years for RP3 and I'll send it to you.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
And that's it. Besides, thank you for working here, you guys, because thank you for giving us 20 hours going down the road and not just ditching us. I truly appreciate that. And tell the employees that they're wonderful, because I do appreciate them. Out.
Jim?
So if you attend the council meeting on a regular basis, I think this coming 15th Monday, we're gonna start a little early, so I'm not exactly sure what time that is because of what our agenda is covering, so pay attention, it should be posted somewhere, don't know where, but hopefully it's posted in that part of it. Do you guys do the same cybersecurity packets that we get? So this last one was pretty deep.
No, we do different trainings, but same system.
Yeah, because I have a guy sitting out in the car for the last 3 hours recording what we're doing because it had this guy going to a place in the dark and he was tapping into this guy's phone that was setting up an employee or Charlie and a scheme to do something, and it was pretty dark. So I didn't know if you guys got that deep. It was deeper than what I think we needed to do. But I mean, I've sat in a lot of those. It was pretty dark.
No, I'm not.
Sorry.
Is that about the videos that are in the training modules?
For no me for whatever it's called. Yeah. So it was pretty dark. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if you guys were taking the same one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
Yep.
I got 100% wrong the other day.
100% wrong.
Yes, 100%.
We don't have questions. It's just a survey.
Huh? You have to, I'll explain that later. when I get my
Put my
chance.
name in, I was gonna get one for sure, but.
Is that it, Jim?
Yeah, that was it. Sorry.
Okay, Andrew.
I just want to reiterate the comment I just made about, like, just a little extra effort of the photos and just the presentation. That was, never thought it would be worth anything until I saw it and was like, oh, that's so cool. So I'm glad that we're doing that. And I would encourage to keep putting some of those things out available to the website. Just, again, it's good for people to see what is done. Yeah, I guess congratulations to Ryan and a bit of homework, but that we're losing you, but I'm glad you're staying around as long as you are. But definitely, I think you earned the right to go retire and have some fun. But appreciate everything you've done here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for wearing your shirts. I sent a picture home and his tea teared up, I'm pretty sure.
And thanks for having us. We appreciate that.
He called me first thing in the morning almost.
And I'll get into that too. Greg?
I got nothing tonight. Let's get out of here.
Okay, couple things. Yeah, I think about the Lowell Light and Power family every day, many times a day. So, you know, Ryan lives right out south of town. Most of us know where he lives, so, but I'm glad to see he's committing, doing a transition period and giving us 20 hours and helping Lowell Light and Power get through a transition, and I appreciate it. I think of Jamie, I think of Ryan, as I'm working many times during the day. So I wish them the best. The other is the city website. I think I mentioned it to you, but it states on there that our meetings, Lowell Light and Power's meetings, are typically, and it says typically, the second Tuesday of the month. I would like to change that by just putting in the exact dates, because I know that we have, you know, it's kind of a funny phrase, but my wife is going like this, and I'm going, oh no, our meetings are the first Tuesday after the second Monday. And again, if you looked at the calendar, I have too much time on my hands some days. If you look at the calendar, October really turns out to be the third Tuesday of the month, because the first Tuesday, October 1 is on Tuesday, then it's the 8th, and then it's 15th. So it actually turns out to be the third Tuesday that month, if we're going by. And I know that Charlie set this up. We wanted to go from Thursday to Tuesday to accommodate everybody, and but he wanted to make sure that we were between the council meetings, that, you know, they're the first Monday and the third Monday of the month, and so that's why that.
But I thought it was the second Tuesday after the first Monday.
Well, I don't know, I guess I'd have to do the math and see if that actually
I think it's the
figures
same
out.
thing.
No, it isn't.
Wait a second, it's the what?
The second Tuesday after the first Monday. He said the first,
It's the Tuesday, it's the
he's the
Tuesday.
second Tuesday after the second. Or
No, it's the first Tuesday after the second,
It is the
after the
Tuesday,
second
it
Monday.
is the Tuesday after. You can drop the
Tuesday,
first.
yeah,
Yes, you drop the first.
Tuesday.
The first is just a funny thing,
Yeah.
but yes, it's the Tuesday after the first Monday. So it's,
Tuesday after the second Monday.
yes.
I was thinking that's the first one before the third one.
You know, so
Let's not do
anyway,
that.
anyway, it's just,
We got one every month,
Every month.
usually.
Gary, can I just clarify, that's on our website or the city's website?
city's website.
Okay, we can send
Cities,
it out.
if you go to Light and Power, and
Yeah.
you look on it, and it tells a little brief about Light
Okay,
and
that's
Power.
what I thought
They
you
just,
said, I just wanted to clarify.
yep, no, it's,
We'll ask them to change that.
yep, it's ours.
Good point of it.
And, other than that, again, missing last month's, and I was just looking at the date, I'm questionable whether I'll be here for the May meeting or not. My niece has her college graduation, and we have promised her to attend her high school graduation out in California, and it happened to be during Zoom, happened to be during COVID, and so there was, no one could attend. And,
Yeah.
so we pushed it to, because my intentions are to embarrass her greatly when she walks across the stage. That's my goal.
One last thing I did want to bring to everybody's attention is we received our Diamond Safety Award of Excellence, the plaque. So this was for 2023. I like the program that APPA has revamped their program a little bit. Their old safety award program focused only on lagging indicators. I'm looking at you, you're shaking. They're lagging indicators they revamped the program to try and focus on leading indicators as well. Any focus only on lagging indicators really it incentivizes not reporting accidents and things. It's just not necessarily indicative of a strong safety culture. So I like the changes they've made. Did change kind of the award. Again, we went the entire year 2023 without a lost time accident, which is obviously always our goal.
Okay, anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Brought some wildflower seeds.
8:57.
Go plant some wildflowers.